I don't remember inviting you. Oh, she must be talking about her party, I thought. She's probably showing off her fancy high-rise apartment to everyone. Well, I wasn't invited either, and I didn't want to go anyway. But Jasmine kept pressing me. Did you come here for a tour or something? She asked, looking at me with a smirk. You, who can only afford such cheap and boring clothes for your daughter. Hearing that, I decided to respond. Why shouldn't I be here? I asked. Because this is no place for someone as poor as you, she shot back. I said one thing, and it left Jasmine speechless. Her face went pale, then quickly turned red with anger. She called me a liar, which I found pretty funny. Let me explain a bit about myself. My name is Alan, and I'm a homemaker. I used to want a job, but my husband asked me to stay home and take care of our family, so I did. I work hard every day, and it's a joyful life. My husband, our lovely daughter, and I share a home filled with love and care. This story happened a few years after our daughter was born. By then, she was old enough to start preschool. We looked at a few schools and chose one where we thought she could grow and thrive. At first, she was nervous, but she quickly made friends and enjoyed her time there. Through her friendships, I met other moms and made friends too. Most of them were kind, but a few were not so nice. One of them was Jasmine. Jasmine always acted like she was better than everyone else. Other parents told me her husband worked at a famous company, and she loved to brag about being his wife. Jasmine's stories were always about fancy things, staying in luxurious hotels, traveling abroad, or buying expensive designer items. Recently, I had to hear her brag about having lunch at a famous chef's restaurant. While Jasmine had a small group of friends among the moms, I preferred to stay away from her. But, as life goes, we can't always avoid certain people. One holiday, I took my daughter to the park and unexpectedly ran into Jasmine. Oh, hello there, she greeted me. Jasmine was dressed in a tight, elegant dress and delicate, strappy shoes. Everything she wore screamed expensive. Her outfit was eye-catching and flashy, hardly what you'd expect someone to wear to a park with their child. Hello, I replied, trying my best not to look uncomfortable. Jasmine suddenly stopped smiling and stared at me. Her gaze confused me, and I wondered if I'd done something wrong. Then I realized she was looking at my daughter, who was standing beside me. Jasmine chuckled in a mocking way and turned to me with a smirk. Hey, where do you buy your daughter's clothes? She asked. I was caught off guard and wondered why she was asking. But her next comment made it clear. Those clothes look so cheap. Don't you feel bad for your daughter? It was true that my daughter was wearing a simple t-shirt and skinny jeans, the kind you could find anywhere. But they were neat and clean, and I'd never thought much about it. I just laughed lightly and ignored her comment. Anything I said would probably lead to an argument, and I wasn't in the mood for that. It was better to avoid unnecessary confrontation. When I gave Jasmine a forced smile, she seemed to think she had struck a nerve. With a smug expression, she said, "If you can't afford better clothes, let me know. I can give you some of my kids' old clothes. They're second-hand, but if you want, I can even give you some of mine." I had no intention of taking her offer, so I replied vaguely, "Sure, I'll keep that in mind if I ever need to." By now, our kids were busy playing on different equipment, and I was eager to end the conversation. "My daughter seems to want to play somewhere else, so I'll have to go," I said. "Well, if you ever need help with clothes, don't hesitate to ask," she said with an exaggerated wave as we parted ways. As I walked away and saw my daughter's cheerful smile, my irritation started to fade. Not long after, I heard that Jasmine was inviting some of the moms to a party at her house. Apparently, she and her husband had just bought a brand new high-rise apartment, and she wanted to show it off during the party. I wasn't invited, but I didn't care. A party at Jasmine's house was bound to be an opportunity for her to brag, and I had no interest in that. Rumor had it that there was even a dress code for the party. Guests were told to wear flashy, brightly colored, and glamorous dresses, hardly the kind of thing you'd expect for a casual gathering at someone's home. I also heard that Jasmine only invited moms from well-off families to her party. Looking at the guest list, it was clear, these moms had husbands with high-ranking jobs at global companies or came from families that owned large properties. The dress code seemed like a way to filter the guests. Realizing once again how much Jasmine judged people based on wealth, I was completely fed up. I seriously started thinking about how to avoid her in the future. But as long as our kids were in the same preschool, avoiding her completely seemed unlikely. After the awkward park encounter, I also realized we lived in the same neighborhood, which made things even harder. I found myself wishing the problem would just disappear, so much so that I even wished on a star. One day, I found myself walking into a high-rise apartment. I opened the automatic lock at the entrance, stepped inside, and looked around the floor. Suddenly, a door creaked open, and to my surprise, Jasmine appeared. I froze for a moment, caught off guard. But I quickly regained my composure and said, "Well, hello there," even though I didn't really want to speak to her. Jasmine, however, didn't return my greeting. She just stared at me with wide eyes, clearly shocked. We looked at each other in silence for a moment before Jasmine frowned, her anger unmistakable. Then she spoke. "I don't remember inviting you," she said coldly. I realized she was talking about her party. "Well, I wasn't invited," I replied simply. And honestly, I didn't want to go anyway. Jasmine didn't like my answer. She snapped, "Then why are you here? Why am I here?" I repeated. "Did you come here to tour this high-rise apartment?" she sneered. "Even though you can only dress your daughter in such plain, cheap clothes?" Her mocking tone was unmistakable. I decided it was time to speak up. I carefully chose my words and said, "Do you think I shouldn't be here?" "Yes," she said confidently. "This isn't a place for someone like you." "And why is that?" I asked. "Because someone poor like you doesn't belong here," I responded calmly but firmly. "Well, this is actually my home." Jasmine froze. Her expression went blank, and her face turned pale as she processed what I had just said. It was obvious she hadn't expected that response. She blinked in disbelief, struggling to understand the situation. Then, her face flushed with anger. "What do you mean?" "Explain yourself," she demanded. I looked at her and said, "Let me clarify for you." I calmly explained to Jasmine, "Actually, my husband is the president of several companies. They're not famous, but they generate a significant income. Thanks to that, we live quite comfortably. He owns several properties across Japan, and this high-rise apartment building we're in now is built on one of his properties. So technically, this building belongs to my husband, and it's also our home. My husband knew I wanted to work, so he entrusted me with managing this building. That's why I'm here regularly." Jasmine's eyes widened in shock. "What? I didn't know that," she exclaimed. "When I signed the contract for my apartment, I met a man who was the manager, not you." "Oh," I replied. "That must have been my husband. He handled the key handover for me this time, so we didn't meet." "You can tell all the lies you want," Jasmine snapped. With that parting shot, she stormed back into her apartment. But then, to my surprise, she returned with her arms full of random items, children's toys, stuffed animals, clothes, and stationery. "You're the one dressing your kid in pitiful clothes." "Stop lying," she shouted as she started throwing the items at me. "There's no way you earn more than me." Her sudden outburst left me speechless. The items she threw scattered around the floor with loud thuds, a clear sign of her uncontrolled anger. I decided it was time to clear up another misunderstanding, the park incident. "About my daughter's clothes that day," I began. "What about them?" Jasmine snapped. "Do you remember the day we were at the park? What does that have to do with anything? My daughter loves playing in the sand, so I dressed her in clothes that could get dirty. That's all," I explained calmly. "Lies!" Jasmine yelled. "It's the truth," I said, pulling out my phone. I showed her a picture from my album. In the photo, my family of 3 was smiling together, and my daughter was wearing a recognizable children's brand outfit. Jasmine froze, her eyes widening even more. "You only dressed her nicely that one time, didn't you?" she screeched, desperately clinging to her denial. "That's not true," I said, scrolling through more photos. I showed her multiple pictures of my daughter, some dressed nicely for special occasions, others in casual clothes for messy play. Seeing this, Jasmine clenched her fists and trembled, unable to come up with a response. "What? What are you trying to say?" That being wealthy makes you superior, she yelled, her anger spilling over. Suddenly, she pushed me hard on my shoulders. That was the last straw. Other mothers who had been observing the situation came outside and tried to calm Jasmine down. She lied to me. There's no way she lives in this luxury apartment. Jasmine shouted. She's just pretending to be more popular than me. Despite their attempts to soothe her, Jasmine kept yelling. Eventually, perhaps from sheer exhaustion, Jasmine finally quieted down. She stood there, breathing heavily, looking disheveled, her hair a mess, one slipper missing, and surrounded by the aftermath of her tantrum. The hallway was littered with broken toys, damaged stuffed animals, and other items she had thrown. I glanced inside her apartment and noticed our children peeking out, looking worried. "Are you satisfied now?" I asked, giving Jasmine a polite but fake smile. She didn't respond, her face twisting in frustration. "I hope you enjoy your luxury apartment brag party," I added as I walked past her. "And please, clean up the mess you made." From behind me, I heard her shout, "Liar." It was a weak attempt at defiance, and I couldn't help but chuckle. After this incident, Jasmine's reputation among the other moms completely fell apart. Her arrogant behavior had already caused tension, and this outrageous tantrum was the final straw. What made things worse was that Jasmine even tried to make the other moms clean up the mess she had created. They refused and began distancing themselves from her, labeling her as unstable. The close friendships Jasmine thought she had built among the preschool moms dissolved, leaving her isolated in the community. Not long after, rumors began circulating that Jasmine had gotten a divorce. Apparently, Jasmine had been living extravagantly on her husband's money, spending on international trips and designer goods. This had strained their marriage for some time. The tantrum where she threw objects at me, and refused to clean up afterward, was the final blow. It was said that her husband confronted her and decided to end their marriage. Jasmine reportedly begged him, "Please don't leave me," but he responded firmly, "I never thought you'd stoop this low. I can't stay with you anymore. I'm taking custody of our child." And with that, Jasmine was left completely alone. Their marriage had been a secret elopement, so Jasmine had no family or close friends nearby to support her. Jobless and without her husband's financial support, she struggled to get by. News of her fall from grace spread quickly, making it difficult for her to find work. Eventually, Jasmine found a part-time job at a supermarket. She now lives in a rundown, 50-year-old apartment with creaky doors, barely making ends meet. I hope that through all this, Jasmine has learned her lesson, not to judge people by their wealth.
I've been the family ATM for 15 years, and I didn't even know it. My name is Riley, and I'm about to tell you how my parents turned me into their personal piggy bank while treating my younger sister like she was made of spun gold. But first, let me paint you a picture of what Sunday dinners look like in the Wilkins household. "Riley, can you grab the dishes?" Mom called from the living room, where she was adjusting the throw pillows for the third time. "Georgia's telling us about her internship interview." I scraped congealed gravy off plates while my 23-year-old sister held court in the next room, gesturing dramatically with her manicured nails. The same nails I'd indirectly paid for, though I didn't realize it then. "They said I have exactly the kind of fresh perspective they're looking for," Georgia gushed. "The interviewer practically offered me the position on the spot." "That's our girl," Dad boomed. "Denise, didn't I tell you she'd knock their socks off?" I loaded the dishwasher, listening to them fawn over her like she'd just cured cancer instead of nailing a basic interview question. This was nothing new. Georgia had been the star of every family gathering since she could walk, while I'd been the one making sure there were clean glasses for everyone to toast her with. "Riley," Mom's voice carried that edge it got when she was about to assign me another task. "Can you run to the store? We're out of that sparkling cider Georgia likes." "The store closes in 20 minutes, I said, checking my phone. "You'll make it if you hurry." I grabbed my keys without arguing. I always grabbed my keys without arguing. The pattern had been set so early I couldn't remember when it started. Riley handles the practical stuff. Riley pays for the practical stuff. Riley makes sure everyone else can focus on the important things, like Georgia's future. Every birthday party, I was the one who stayed late to clean up while Georgia got driven home by friends, exhausted from being celebrated. Every family vacation, I was the one who researched hotels and calculated budgets, while Georgia picked out new outfits for the trip. Every milestone, every achievement, every moment that mattered, I was the stagehand making sure the spotlight stayed on her. And I told myself it was fine. I told myself it was what big sisters did. The real kicker? I actually believed them when they said all my hard work was building towards something. Every paycheck I deposited into that joint account, every overtime shift I picked up, every dollar I didn't spend on myself, it was all going toward my future home. "You're so smart to save like this," Dad would say, patting my shoulder. "Most kids your age blow their money on nonsense, but you're building something real." "We're so proud of how responsible you are," Mom would add. "Georgia could learn a thing or two from your discipline." Discipline. That's what they called it when I wore the same 3 work outfits on rotation, while Georgia got a new wardrobe every season. Discipline was eating peanut butter sandwiches for lunch, while she got money for trendy cafes. Discipline was driving my 10-year-old Honda, while she complained that her car was embarrassing compared to her friends. But it was all worth it, right? Because I was building toward independence. I was going to have my own place, my own life, my own space, where I could finally breathe without someone asking me to handle something for them. Last Tuesday, I found it. The perfect starter home 3 blocks from my office, with a little garden and enough room for the life I'd been planning for years. The realtor said if I could get the deposit together by Friday, it was mine. I practically floated home, already imagining myself painting the bedroom walls and hosting dinners where I was the guest instead of the help. "You seem happy," Georgia said when I walked in, not looking up from her phone. "Just had a good day," I said, trying to contain my excitement until I could talk to Mom and Dad about accessing the account. "That's nice." She scrolled past another post. "Oh, by the way, Mom and Dad are in the kitchen whispering about some big surprise for me, probably graduation related." I smiled and headed upstairs, my heart still racing with possibility. A surprise for Georgia. How perfectly normal. If only I'd known that surprise was going to cost me everything. I cornered Dad in his home office Wednesday morning, clutching the realtor's paperwork like a lifeline. "I need to transfer money from the joint account," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. $15,000 for the house deposit. The seller wants it by Friday." Dad didn't look up from his computer. "House deposit? The starter home I told you about? 3 blocks from work? I showed you the listing last week." "Oh, right." He clicked through a few more emails. "This week's not great, kiddo. I've got that quarterly report due, and your mother's swamped with Georgia's graduation planning. It's just a bank transfer. Takes 5 minutes. Let me talk to your mother first. You know how she gets about big financial decisions." Big financial decisions? With my own money. Money I'd been saving for exactly this purpose. "Dad, the realtor needs an answer by tomorrow. If I don't put down the deposit, I lose the house. There'll be other houses." The dismissal in his voice made my stomach clench, but I pushed forward. "This one's perfect. It's in my budget, good neighborhood, move-in ready. I've been saving for this for years." "Riley," he finally looked at me, and something in his expression made me take a step back. "Let's discuss this later. Your mother and I need to review the account situation." Review the account situation. The account that was supposed to be mine. I found Mom in the kitchen, aggressively organizing the spice rack. "Dad says you need to review the account situation before I can access my money," I said. Her hand stilled on the oregano bottle. "It's not that simple, honey." "What's not simple about it?" "It's my money in a joint account. I need $15,000 for a house deposit. We've had some unexpected expenses lately." "What kind of expenses?" She turned to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Guilt. "Georgia's graduation is expensive. The party, her interview outfits, the car insurance for her new—" She stopped mid-sentence. "Her new what?" "Nothing. Just expenses." My heart started hammering. "Mom, what new car?" "Riley, sit down." I don't want to sit down. What new car? Dad appeared in the doorway like he'd been listening from the hall. We were going to tell you after the graduation party. Tell me what? They exchanged one of those married couple looks that said everything and nothing. We bought Georgia a car, Mom said quietly. A graduation present. The kitchen tilted. With what money? The account money, Dad said. Your money, technically, but how much? Riley, how much of my money did you spend on a car for Georgia? Silence stretched between us like a chasm. Most of it, Mom whispered. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app with shaking fingers. The joint account I'd been feeding for 15 years showed a balance of $2,947. 15 years of overtime shifts, 15 years of skipped meals and second-hand clothes, and saying no to every invitation that cost money. 15 years of believing I was building something. $47,000, I said, staring at the screen. You spent $47,000 of my money on a car for Georgia. It's not just a car, Dad said quickly. It's an investment in her future. She needs reliable transportation for job interviews, networking events. I drive a Honda with 200,000 miles on it. That's different. You're established in your career. I'm established because I never had the money to take risks, because every dollar I made went into this account that was supposed to be for my future. It is for your future, Mom said. Georgia's success benefits the whole family. When she's making good money, she'll be able to help. Help with what? I've been helping for 15 years. When does someone help me? You're being dramatic, Dad said. It's just a house. There will be other opportunities. Just a house. I looked at them both, really looked at them, and saw strangers. This was my chance to finally have something of my own. You have plenty of your own things, Mom said. Name one. Name one thing in my life that you two haven't had a say in, haven't benefited from, haven't used to make Georgia's life easier. They couldn't answer. What kind of car? I asked. Riley, what kind of car did you buy her with my life savings? A BMW, Dad said quietly. It's practical. Good safety ratings. A BMW. $47,000 of my sweat and sacrifice, sitting in some dealership lot with a bow on it. You're being selfish, Mom said, her voice gaining strength. Georgia's worked hard for this graduation. She deserves to celebrate. And what do I deserve? You deserve to be proud of your sister's accomplishments. I stared at her, this woman who'd raised me to believe that love meant sacrifice, that being good meant being invisible. I need to see the receipts, I said. What? Every transaction, every withdrawal. I want to see exactly how you spent my money. Dad's face went red. That account is in our names too. Legally, we had every right. Legally, maybe. But morally? I turned toward the door. I'm going to my room. Don't follow me. Riley, you're overreacting, Mom called after me. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at them. 15 years, I said. 15 years I believed you. I spent that night pulling every bank statement, every receipt, every piece of paper that proved what they'd done to me. By 3 a.m., my bedroom floor looked like a tornado had hit an accountant's office. The numbers didn't lie. $47,312. Gone. My phone buzzed. Adrian. You awake? Saw your light on when I drove past. Adrian lived 2 streets over and had been my closest friend since college. He was also the only person who'd ever called out my family's bullshit to my face. Come over, I texted back. Use the back door. 10 minutes later, he was sitting on my floor, staring at the paper trail of my financial murder. Jesus, Riley. He picked up a bank statement from 2019. They've been bleeding you dry for years. I kept records of everything, I said, my voice hoarse from crying. Every deposit, every contribution. Look at this. I handed him a spreadsheet I'd created. 15 years of data, color-coded and cross-referenced. You made this? I update it every month. I thought I was tracking my progress toward independence. Turns out I was documenting my own exploitation. Adrian whistled low. This is insane. You've got dates, amounts, even notes about what you sacrificed to make each deposit. December 2018. Skipped Christmas gifts to contribute extra $800. March 2020. Worked double shifts during pandemic. Deposited entire stimulus check plus overtime. I laughed bitterly. I was so proud of my discipline. Riley, this isn't discipline. This is financial abuse. The words hit like a slap. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. Look at this pattern. They trained you to hand over your money while convincing you it was for your own good. That's textbook manipulation. My phone rang. Mom. Don't answer it, Adrian said. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Riley, please, Mom's voicemail said. We need to talk about this like adults. You're upset, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture, I repeated. Apparently, the bigger picture is Georgia driving around in a BMW while I eat ramen for dinner. When's the last time you bought yourself something nice? Adrian asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't remember. New clothes? Target clearance rack maybe 6 months ago. Vacation? I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. Riley, Adrian's voice was gentle. Normal families don't work like this. They said it was temporary, that once I got established, once Georgia got on her feet. Georgia's 23. She has a degree. How much more on her feet does she need to be? My laptop chimed with an email notification. Georgia. Subject line, can we talk? I read aloud. Don't open it, Adrian said. I opened it anyway. Riley, I know you're upset about the car situation, but you're making this way more dramatic than it needs to be. Mom and Dad explained that the money was always meant to be flexible for family needs. I didn't ask for the car, but they insisted because they want me to succeed. You should be happy that your hard work is helping me launch my career. Isn't that what big sisters are supposed to do? Love you. Gee, she thinks I should be happy, I said, showing Adrian the screen. She's delusional. Or she's exactly what they raised her to be. Adrian stood up and started pacing. You know what you need to do, right? Cry myself to sleep and pretend this never happened? No, you need to fight back. How? The money's gone. They legally had access to the account. Maybe legally, but not ethically. And definitely not without consequences. What consequences? They'll just gaslight me more. Tell me I'm being selfish and ungrateful. Only if you let them control the narrative. I looked at him. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you stop being the family doormat and start being the family nightmare. Adrian, when's Georgia's graduation party? Saturday. Why? How many people will be there? The whole extended family, neighbors, her friends, maybe 40 people. Adrian smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Perfect audience. For what? For the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from my coworker, Lily. Heard through the grapevine that you're having family drama. Coffee tomorrow? I have thoughts. Lily wants to meet for coffee, I said. Good. You need allies. I need a new family. Maybe. But first, you need justice. I looked at the papers scattered around my room. 15 years of evidence. 15 years of proof that I'd been played. They're expecting me to just roll over and take it, I said. Are you going to? For the first time in my life, the answer was crystal clear. No. Adrian grinned. Now we're talking. But Riley? Yeah? When you decide to burn it all down, make sure you're standing upwind. I started gathering the papers into neat piles. Evidence, ammunition, proof. Saturday's going to be interesting, I said. Saturday's going to be legendary. Thursday morning, I met Lily at our usual coffee shop. She took one look at my face and ordered me a double shot. Spill, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I told her everything. The house, the account, the BMW. By the end, she was gripping her mug so hard I thought it might crack. "Those bastards," she said. "Riley, this is criminal." Adrian said the same thing. "Adrian's right. What are you going to do about it?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos I'd taken of all my documentation. "I'm going to make them pay." "How?" "Georgia's graduation party. Saturday. Everyone will be there." Lily's eyes lit up. Public humiliation. Public truth-telling. "Even better." She leaned forward. "What do you need?" "Help making copies of everything, and maybe a witness who isn't emotionally invested." "Done." "What else?" "A lawyer's opinion on whether I have any legal recourse." "My cousin's a lawyer. I'll call her today." We spent the next hour planning. Lily was ruthless in a way that surprised me. "You need to hit them where it hurts most," she said. "Their reputation." "I just want my money back. Riley, they stole from you for 15 years. They deserve whatever's coming." That afternoon, I played the perfect daughter. I helped Mom plan the party menu, confirmed RSVPs, and even offered to pick up the decorations. "You seem better today," Mom said, arranging flowers in a vase. "I'm glad you're not still upset about the misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" "About the account. I know it was a shock, but you'll see that we made the right choice for the family." I smiled and nodded. "You're probably right." "Georgia's going to be so surprised when she sees the car. We're unveiling it right after dinner before dessert." "Perfect timing. And Riley, thank you for being so mature about this. I knew you'd come around." I kept smiling until she left the room, then texted Adrian. "They think I've come around. This is going to be even better than we planned." Friday evening, Lily's cousin called me back. "I reviewed the documents you sent," she said. "Legally, since your parents were on the account, they had the right to withdraw the money. But morally and ethically, this is financial abuse, clear as day. So I have no legal recourse. Not criminally, but civilly. You could potentially sue for the money back, especially with the documentation you have proving it was your earnings and your stated intent to use it for a house. How strong is the case? Strong enough to make their lives very uncomfortable. The threat of a lawsuit might be enough to get them to negotiate. What would that look like? A formal demand letter, payment plan, public record of the dispute if it goes to court. Send me everything I need." Saturday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Georgia. I called her back. "Riley, oh my God, finally, I'm freaking out about tonight." "Why?" "What if people don't like the car? What if they think it's too much? What if—" "Georgia, it's a BMW. People will love it." "You really think so?" "I think you're going to get exactly the reaction you deserve. You're the best sister ever. I'm so lucky to have you." The irony was suffocating. At noon, Adrian came over with a printer and helped me make copies of everything. Bank statements, deposit slips, my spreadsheet, the lawyer's demand letter. "You sure about this?" he asked, watching me organize everything into neat folders. They had 15 years to do the right thing. "I'm done waiting." "No backing down once you start." "I know. Your parents will never forgive you." "Good. Maybe that makes us even." At 3 p.m., I got a text from Dad. "Hope you're planning to be on your best behavior tonight. This is Georgia's day." I texted back, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." At 4 p.m., I put on my nicest dress, the one I'd bought 3 years ago for a job interview, and did my makeup carefully. If I was going to burn my family to the ground, I was going to look good doing it. At 5 p.m., I loaded my car with the evidence folders and drove to my parents' house. The party was already in full swing. Georgia held court on the back patio, radiant in a new dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Extended family mingled around the yard, drinks in hand, everyone talking about Georgia's bright future. Uncle Lamar spotted me first. "Riley, there's our responsible one. How's the job going?" "Great, Uncle Lamar. Really great. Your parents are so proud of how you've turned out. Both their girls, so successful." "We'll see about that." He laughed. Thinking I was joking. I wasn't joking. Mom appeared at my elbow. Riley, can you help me bring out the appetizers? In a minute, Mom. I need to get something from my car first. What could you possibly need from your car? I smiled at her, the same smile I'd been giving her my whole life. Georgia's graduation present. The party was in full swing by 6 o'clock. Georgia floated between groups of relatives and friends, soaking up congratulations like a sponge. She changed into her third outfit of the day, a designer sundress that probably cost more than my grocery budget for 2 months. Riley! Aunt Poppy grabbed my arm as I walked past with my gift bag. Isn't this exciting? Georgia's finally graduating, and I heard there's a big surprise coming. Oh, there's definitely going to be a surprise, I said. Your parents are just glowing with pride. Both their daughters turned out so well. I spotted Adrian by the drink table, nursing a beer and watching me carefully. He gave me a subtle nod. Excuse me, Aunt Poppy. I need to find a good spot for Georgia's gift. I placed the elegantly wrapped box on the gift table, right next to a pile of cards and smaller presents. The weight of the folders inside made it heavier than it looked. Riley, there you are. Dad appeared beside me, his voice low. I hope you're planning to keep things pleasant tonight. Why wouldn't I? You know why. This isn't the time or place for dramatics. Dramatics? I turned to face him fully. Dad, when have I ever been dramatic? He studied my face, looking for signs of rebellion. Just remember this is Georgia's night. Trust me, I'll never forget tonight. Something in my tone made him frown. But before he could respond, Mom clinked a fork against her wine glass. Everyone, can I have your attention, please? The crowd gathered on the patio, about 40 people total. I counted them quickly. Uncle Lamar, Aunt Poppy, Cousin Ella, Georgia's boyfriend Zachariah, several neighbors, Georgia's college friends, and extended family I only saw at holidays. Perfect audience. We're so thrilled you could all be here to celebrate our Georgia's graduation, Mom began, her voice carrying that practiced hostess tone. She's worked so hard for this moment. Georgia beamed, accepting kisses and hugs from everyone within reach. But before we have dessert, Dad jumped in, we have a very special surprise for our graduate. Oh my God, what did you guys do? Georgia squealed, playing up the surprise even though she obviously knew what was coming. Well, Mom said, we know how important it is for a young professional to have reliable transportation. No way, Georgia gasped, covering her mouth with her hands in mock shock. So we got you a little something to help launch your career, Dad said, pulling out car keys with a BMW keychain. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Georgia burst into tears, the pretty kind that didn't mess up her makeup. You guys are the best parents in the world, she sobbed, hugging them both. Her speech! Speech! Someone called out. Georgia wiped her eyes and turned to face everyone. I can't believe this. I'm so grateful to have parents who believe in me and invest in my future. And I'm especially grateful to my big sister Riley, who's always been such an amazing example of responsibility and hard work. She looked right at me, her eyes shining with genuine affection. For a split second, I almost wavered. Almost. The car is absolutely gorgeous, she continued. I promise I'll take good care of it and make you all proud. More applause, more hugs, more gushing about what wonderful parents Eugene and Denise were, how lucky their daughters were, how beautiful the family bond was. Now, Mom said, let's move on to gifts. Georgia, why don't you start with Riley's? It looks like she put a lot of thought into the wrapping. All eyes turned to me. Georgia practically skipped over to the gift table and picked up my box. Ooh, it's heavy, she said, shaking it gently. What did you get me, sis? I walked over to stand next to her, my heart hammering, but my voice steady. Something I think you really need, I said. Something that tells the whole truth about how you got that car. Georgia's smile faltered slightly. What? Open it. She tore off the wrapping paper and lifted the lid. Inside, neatly arranged, were copies of bank statements, deposit records, and a formal legal document. "What is this?" she asked, pulling out the top folder. 15 years of financial records, I said, my voice carrying across the now silent patio. Documenting every dollar I earned and deposit into what I thought was my savings account. "Riley," Dad said sharply, "this isn't appropriate." "You're right," I said, taking the folder from Georgia's hands. "It's not appropriate to steal $47,000 from your daughter. But here we are." The silence was deafening. "What's she talking about?" Uncle Lamar asked. I opened the folder and pulled out my spreadsheet. "I'm talking about how Mom and Dad spent my entire life savings, money I earned working overtime for 15 years, to buy Georgia that BMW. That's not," Mom started. "Every deposit is documented," I continued, holding up bank statements. "Every sacrifice I made, every dollar I saved thinking I was building toward my own future. All of it went to buy my sister a luxury car." Georgia's face had gone white. "Riley, you're scaring me." "You should be scared," I said, "because everyone here is about to learn exactly what kind of family we really are." I pulled out the lawyer's letter and held it up for everyone to see. "This is a formal demand for repayment," I announced. $47,312. The exact amount my parents stole from my savings account to buy Georgia her graduation present. "Riley, stop this right now," Dad hissed, stepping toward me. "No." I stepped back, keeping the crowd between us. "I'm done stopping. I'm done being quiet. I'm done pretending this is normal." "What's she talking about?" Aunt Poppy asked, looking confused. I opened the folder and started reading from my spreadsheet. March 2009. Deposit in my first paycheck $437. Mom said it was smart to save for my future. July 2009. Work double shifts to deposit an extra $600. Dad said he was proud of my responsibility. "Riley, please," Mom whispered, her face pale. December 2015. Skipped Christmas presents for everyone to deposit my entire holiday bonus. $800. You told me I was being mature and forward-thinking. "This is private family business," Dad said loudly, trying to regain control. "Private?" I laughed, and it came out sharp and bitter. "You made it public the second you spent my money on a car for the whole neighborhood to admire." Uncle Lamar stepped forward. "Eugene, what is she talking about?" "She's having some kind of breakdown," Dad said. "The stress of—" "I'm having a breakdown," I cut him off. "I found the perfect house, put in an offer, went to withdraw my down payment, and discovered you'd cleaned out my account. 15 years of savings, gone." "The account was in our names, too," Mom said weakly, "because you convinced me it was safer that way. You said I was too young to manage that much money alone. You said you were protecting my future." I turned to address the crowd directly. Every person here has heard them brag about how responsible I am, how I never ask for anything, how I always put family first. Want to know why? Silence. Because they trained me to. Every dollar I earned went into that account. Every sacrifice I made was for the family. Every time I said no to friends, no to trips, no to anything that cost money, it was because I was building towards something. "Riley," Georgia said, tears streaming down her face, "I didn't know." "Didn't know what? That the car cost $47,000? That it was paid for with my money? Or did you just not care where it came from?" "I thought they saved up for it." I pulled out my phone and opened my text messages. "Really? Because here's a text thread from last week." I read aloud. "Georgia, to Mom. Riley's being weird about money lately. Think she suspects something?" Mom to Georgia. "Don't worry, she never stands up for herself. She'll get over it." The crowd gasped. Georgia's face crumpled. "You were laughing about it," I continued, "making jokes about how I never fight back, how I'm too much of a doormat to cause problems. That's taken out of context," Mom said desperately. "What context makes it okay?" I demanded. "What context makes it acceptable to steal from your daughter and then mock her for being too broken to fight back. Uncle Lamar cleared his throat. Eugene? Denise? Is this true? It's complicated, Dad said. It's not complicated, I shot back. They stole my money. Here's the proof. I started handing out copies of bank statements to people in the crowd. Uncle Lamar, Aunt Poppy, the neighbors, George's friends, every deposit documented, every withdrawal traced, 15 years of financial abuse, all laid out in black and white. Financial abuse? Mom's voice cracked. Riley, we're your parents. We were managing your money responsibly, managing it right into George's driveway. Zachariah, George's boyfriend, was reading over one of the bank statements. Babe, he said quietly, this shows deposits of like $2,000 a month for years. Where did you think that car money came from? I thought they saved up, Georgia sobbed. With what money? I asked. Dad's been at the same job for 10 years. Mom works part-time. Where exactly did you think they got $47,000 in cash? I don't know. I didn't think about it. Of course you didn't. You never had to think about money because I was always there to provide it. Aunt Poppy was studying the documents with a frown. Eugene, these deposits, this is a lot of money. Riley's always been a good saver, he said weakly. This isn't saving, Uncle Lamar said, his voice hard. This is exploitation. Thank you, I said. Finally, someone sees it. Riley, you're ruining everything, Georgia screamed suddenly. This is my graduation party, my special day. Why are you doing this to me? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Because, I said, my voice steady and clear, for 15 years, every day was your special day. Every celebration was about you. Every dollar was for you. Every sacrifice was for your benefit. And I'm done. You're jealous, she spat. You've always been jealous that Mom and Dad love me more. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Even Georgia seemed to realize she'd gone too far. Maybe they do love you more, I said, but that doesn't give them the right to steal from me to prove it. Mom suddenly swayed and grabbed Dad's arm. I think I'm going to faint. Don't you dare, I said sharply. Don't you dare play victim now. But she collapsed anyway, Dad catching her as she went down. The party erupted into chaos. People rushing to help, others backing away, Georgia screaming that I'd ruined everything. In the middle of it all, I stood holding my evidence, finally free. Mom's fainting spell lasted exactly 30 seconds, just long enough for Dad to help her to a chair and for the crowd to form a concerned circle around her. I'm fine, she said weakly, fanning herself with a napkin. Just overwhelmed by all this hostility. Hostility? I stepped closer. You steal my life savings, and I'm the hostile one? Riley, your mother just fainted, Dad snapped. Show some compassion. I showed compassion for 15 years. Where was yours when you were emptying my account? Uncle Lamar was still studying the bank statements. Eugene, these numbers don't lie. Riley deposited nearly $50,000 over the years. And we used it responsibly, Dad said, his voice getting defensive. For family needs. Family needs? Aunt Poppy looked up from the documents. A BMW is a family need? Georgia needed reliable transportation for job interviews. I drive a 10-year-old Honda, I interrupted. Apparently my job interviews weren't important enough for reliable transportation. That's different, Mom said, her voice stronger now. You were already established. I was established because I never had money to take risks, because every dollar went to this family. Zachariah was scrolling through his phone. Babe, he said to Georgia, people are already posting about this online. Someone filmed part of it. Georgia's face went white. What? Your friend Jessica posted a video. It's already got like 50 comments. Delete it, Georgia shrieked. Make her delete it. I can't make her delete it. It's her account. This is a disaster, Georgia moaned. Everyone's going to see this. My new job, my friends, everyone. Maybe you should have thought about that before you let them buy you a car with stolen money, I said. It's not stolen. They're my parents, too. Did you earn it? I earned it by being a good daughter. By being their favorite, you mean? Uncle Lamar cleared his throat. I think we need to step back and address this properly. Eugene, Denise, this situation is unacceptable. Lamar, please, Dad said. This is between us and our daughters. No, it's not. Uncle Lamar's voice carried the authority of being the family patriarch. When you steal from one child to spoil another, it becomes everyone's business. We didn't steal anything, Mom protested. The account was in our names. Because you manipulated me into putting it there, I said. You convinced me I was too irresponsible to manage my own money. Aunt Poppy was shaking her head. Denise, I've watched you two favor Georgia for years, but this is criminal. It's not criminal, Dad said quickly. We had legal access to the account. Legal doesn't mean right, Adrian said, stepping forward. He'd been quiet until now, but his voice cut through the chaos. Riley trusted you. She worked herself to the bone, believing she was building a future. Who asked you? Dad snapped. Riley did. She asked me to witness this because she knew you'd try to gaslight her again. Gaslight, Mom's voice went shrill. We raised her to be responsible. You raised her to be your personal ATM, Adrian shot back. More people were pulling out their phones now, some taking pictures of the documents, others recording the argument. Stop filming, Georgia screamed. This is private. Nothing's private anymore, said one of her college friends. This is already all over social media. My reputation is ruined, Georgia sobbed. My career is over before it started. Your career? I stared at her. Your career that was funded by my money? I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. Cousin Ella, who'd been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. Actually, Georgia, you did know. Everyone turned to look at her. Last Christmas, you told me Riley was too stupid to realize how much money she was putting into the family account. You said it was hilarious how she thought she was saving for herself. Georgia's mouth fell open. I never said that. You did. I was uncomfortable with it then, but I didn't say anything. I should have. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I asked. Georgia looked around desperately, but found no allies. Even Zachariah was backing away from her. I meant. You meant exactly what you said, I finished. You knew, and you thought it was funny. The lawyer's letter was still in my hand. I held it up again. This demands full repayment within 30 days, I announced. If you don't pay, I'm taking you to court. You can't sue your own parents, Dad said, but his voice lacked conviction. Watch me. Riley, Mom pleaded, we're family. Families don't sue each other. Families don't steal from each other either. But here we are. Uncle Lamar folded the bank statements and handed them back to me. Eugene, Denise, you need to make this right. We can't just come up with $47,000, Dad said. Then you shouldn't have spent it. The car's already bought, Mom said weakly. Then sell it, I said simply. I can't sell it, Georgia wailed. I need it for work. Get a job first, then worry about transportation. You're destroying our family, Dad said, his voice cold. I looked around at the scattered crowd, the shocked faces, the phone still recording, the evidence in my hands. No, I said, I'm just finally telling the truth about what you already destroyed. You taught me to be responsible, I continued, my voice carrying across the silent patio. Consider this my tuition paid in full. The party ended with people leaving in awkward clusters, whispering and clutching copies of my bank statements like evidence from a crime scene. Georgia locked herself in her childhood bedroom, and my parents retreated to their room to discuss the situation privately. I was loading my car when Uncle Lamar approached me. Riley, I owe you an apology, he said. I've watched this family dynamic for years and never spoke up. It's not your fault. It is partly. We all enabled it by praising you for being so responsible while ignoring how they were taking advantage of you. He handed me a business card. That's my lawyer. Tell him I sent you. He'll make sure you get every penny back. Uncle Lamar? No arguments. This is the least I can do. Adrian walked over as Uncle Lamar left. How are you holding up? Honestly, I feel like I can breathe for the first time in 15 years. Even with all the fallout, I looked back at the house where I'd spent my entire adult life being manipulated, especially with all the fallout. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Jessica, Georgia's friend. I saw what happened tonight. I wanted you to know that Georgia has been bragging about that car for weeks, talking about how her parents finally came through for her. She knew exactly where the money came from. I showed Adrian the text. Save that, he said. More evidence. I don't think I'll need it. Why not? Before I could answer, Dad came outside. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. Riley, we need to talk. I'm done talking. My lawyer will handle everything from here. Your lawyer? His voice cracked. Riley, please. We can work this out as a family. We stopped being a family the day you decided Georgia's wants were more important than my needs. That's not fair. For fair? I laughed. Dad, I haven't bought myself new clothes in 2 years because every extra dollar went into that account. Georgia gets a $47,000 car, and you're worried about fair? Mom appeared in the doorway, her makeup smeared from crying. Riley, if you sue us, we'll lose the house. Then you should have thought about that before you spent money that wasn't yours. We raised you, she said desperately. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. Doesn't that count for something? That's called being a parent. It's not a loan I need to pay back with interest. So what now? Dad asked. You destroy us financially and walk away? I'm not destroying anything. I'm just stopping the destruction of me. Georgia finally emerged from the house, her face blotchy from crying. Riley, can we please talk? Just us? What's left to say? I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't realize how much you'd sacrificed. Yes, you did. You just didn't care. That's not true. I pulled out my phone and showed her Jessica's text. Your friend says otherwise. Georgia read it and went pale. She's lying. Is she? Because I have 17 other messages from people who were at the party tonight. Apparently, you've been pretty vocal about how stupid I am for working so hard while you get all the benefits. I never meant. You meant exactly what you said, just like you meant it when you called me pathetic for never standing up for myself. I was just venting. You didn't think I'd ever find out. You didn't think I'd ever fight back. You thought you could take everything from me and I'd just smile and ask if you needed anything else. Tears streamed down her face. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything from any of you anymore. So that's it? Dad asked. You're just cutting us out of your life? You cut me out of my own life. I'm just making it official. I got in my car and rolled down the window. The lawyer's letter gives you 30 days, I said. I suggest you start figuring out how to come up with the money. And if we can't, Mom asked, then you'll find out what it feels like to lose everything you thought was secure. I drove away without looking back. The next morning, I woke up in my studio apartment, the place I'd been renting month to month because I thought I'd be moving into my dream house soon. For the first time in years, I made coffee just for me, ate breakfast just for me, and opened a new bank account that only had my name on it. My phone had 43 missed calls from various family members. I deleted them all without listening. At noon, there was a knock on my door. A courier with an envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $47,312, along with a note. The car has been returned to the dealer. We're sorry. E.N.D. I stared at the check for a long time, then deposited it using my phone. That afternoon, I called the realtor about the house. Is it still available? Actually, yes. The other buyer's financing fell through yesterday. Perfect. I can have the deposit to you by tomorrow. As I hung up, I realized something had shifted. The weight I'd been carrying for 15 years was gone. The constant anxiety about money, about family obligations, about being good enough, all of it had lifted. I wasn't their safety net anymore. I wasn't their backup plan or their emergency fund or their reliable daughter who never asked for anything. I was just Riley, and for the first time in my adult life, that felt like enough. My phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. How does it feel to finally be free? I looked around my tiny apartment, at the life I was about to build with my own money, on my own terms. Like coming home to myself, I texted back. Karma's ledger always balances. This time, mine was finally in the black.
I should have known better than to trust her. My name is Heidi, and I'm about to tell you how my mother-in-law destroyed my life with a smile on her face and a pen in her hand. But first, let me take you back to when I thought she was my biggest supporter. Heidi, darling, you absolutely must apply for the Pemberton Fellowship, Harmony said, setting down her wine glass with that decisive clink that meant she'd made up her mind about something. It's perfect for someone with your academic background. We were sitting in her pristine dining room, the kind where every piece of furniture cost more than my car. Bobby squeezed my hand under the table, beaming with pride. Even after 2 years of marriage, he still got that look whenever his mother praised me. I don't know, I said, twisting my wedding ring. The competition is insane. They only take 12 people worldwide. Nonsense. Harmony leaned forward, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming against the mahogany table. You graduated summa cum laude. Your thesis on international development policy was groundbreaking. I've seen the caliber of students who get these fellowships, and you're better than half of them. Coming from anyone else, I might have rolled my eyes. But Harmony wasn't just anyone. She was Dean of Academic Affairs at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. When she said something about academic merit, people listened. The application deadline is in 3 weeks, I said, already feeling that familiar flutter of possibility in my chest. Then we'd better get started. Harmony stood up, smoothing her silk blouse. I'll write your recommendation letter personally. With my endorsement, you'll be a shoo-in. Bobby's younger brother, Taylor, looked up from his phone. That's so cool, Heidi. You're like going to be famous or something. Don't be ridiculous, Taylor, Paige said, not looking up from cutting her salmon into precise, identical pieces. It's just a fellowship. Just a fellowship? Bobby laughed. Paige, this would set Heidi up for life. She could work anywhere in the world after this. Paige's fork paused mid-air. Well, I suppose that depends on what you consider important. Some people value stability and family over gallivanting around the globe. The temperature in the room seemed to drop a few degrees. I felt Bobby tense beside me. Paige, Harmony's voice carried a warning. What? I'm just saying there are different priorities in life. Some people are content building something meaningful at home instead of chasing every shiny opportunity that comes along. The Pemberton Fellowship isn't just any opportunity, I said, trying to keep my voice level. It's a chance to work with the UN on sustainable development initiatives, the kind of work that actually changes lives. Of course, dear. Paige smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure it's very important work. I just think it's wonderful when couples can build their careers together in the same place. But that's just me. Enough, Harmony said sharply. Heidi, ignore your sister-in-law. She's being provincial. This fellowship is exactly what you need to take your career to the next level. The rest of dinner passed in relative peace, but I caught Paige shooting me looks when she thought I wasn't paying attention. After dessert, Harmony pulled me aside in the kitchen. Don't let Paige get to you, she said, loading plates into the dishwasher with mechanical precision. She's always been jealous of ambitious women. It's why she's stuck in that dead-end marketing job. I don't want to cause problems in the family. You're not causing anything. You're pursuing excellence, which is exactly what you should be doing. Harmony turned to face me, her expression intense. Heidi, I see something special in you, something that shouldn't be wasted. Let me help you reach your potential. The sincerity in her voice made my throat tight. My own mother had never spoken to me like that, never seen my dreams as anything more than impractical fantasies. Thank you, I whispered. That means everything to me. Then it settled. Send me your application materials by Friday, and I'll have the recommendation letter ready by Monday. We're going to make this happen. 3 weeks later, I submitted what I knew was the strongest application of my life. Harmony's recommendation letter was glowing. She'd shown me a draft that made me sound like the next Nobel laureate. Bobby took me out to celebrate, convinced we'd be planning my move to Geneva within months. The rejection email arrived on a Tuesday morning, and it didn't just crush my dreams. It obliterated them. We regret to inform you that your application has been denied due to serious concerns regarding your character and professional integrity. I read those words 5 times before they sank in. Character concerns, professional integrity. What the hell was happening? I called Bobby first, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. They rejected me, I said the moment he picked up. But Bobby, they're saying there are character concerns. Character concerns. What does that even mean? Slow down, babe. What exactly did the email say? I read him the whole thing, my voice cracking on every word. When I finished, there was silence on the other end. That's insane, he finally said. There has to be some mistake. You're the most ethical person I know. I need to see my application file. I need to know what they're talking about. Of course. We'll figure this out together, okay? Maybe someone mixed up your file with someone else's. But even as he said it, I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. I called Alyssa next. She'd been my closest friend since grad school and now worked in university admissions. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was her. Holy shit, Heidi, she said after I explained everything. Character concerns? That's not language they use lightly. Someone must have written something really damaging. But who would do that? My professors love me. My references were all positive. Wait, who wrote your letters of recommendation? Professor Martinez from my master's program, Dr. Kim from my thesis committee, and Harmony. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. Heidi, you need to request your full application file. Like, immediately. Something's not right here. I spent the next 2 hours on the phone with the fellowship committee, being transferred from one person to another. Finally, a tired-sounding administrator told me they couldn't release application materials due to confidentiality agreements with recommenders. But it's my application, I said. How can I not see my own file? I'm sorry, but that's our policy. The decision is final. I hung up and screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. That evening, I sat across from Harmony at another family dinner, studying her face for any sign of, what, guilt, satisfaction? But she looked exactly the same as always, composed, elegant, slightly bored by the conversation happening around her. I heard about the fellowship, she said when Bobby stepped away to help Taylor with homework. I'm so sorry, dear. These committees can be terribly political. They mentioned character concerns, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Do you have any idea what that could mean? Harmony's expression didn't change. Character concerns? How odd. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding about your academic record? Or maybe they confused you with another candidate? Maybe. I took a sip of wine, trying to calm my nerves. I just wish I could see what they're basing this on. Well, these things happen for a reason, Harmony said, cutting into her chicken with surgical precision. Perhaps it's time to focus on what really matters, supporting Bobby, building a stable life here. Not everyone is meant for international careers. The words hit me like a slap. What do you mean by that? Nothing negative, of course. It's just that some people are better suited for different paths. There's no shame in recognizing your limitations. I stared at her, feeling like I was seeing her clearly for the first time. Limitations? Heidi, Bobby said, returning to the table. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine, I lied. After dinner, I helped Harmony clear the dishes while everyone else moved to the living room. We worked in silence until she suddenly spoke. You know, Heidi, I've been thinking about your situation. Oh? She turned to face me, and for a split second, her mask slipped. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Maybe this rejection is a blessing in disguise. Your place is here, with your husband, not gallivanting around Europe playing at being important. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but every word was razor sharp. Some people need to learn to be content with what they have instead of always reaching for more. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What are you saying? But just as quickly as it had appeared, the mask was back in place. I'm saying that everything happens for a reason, dear. Now, shall we join the others? I followed her into the living room on autopilot, my mind reeling. Bobby was laughing at something Taylor had said, completely oblivious to what had just happened in the kitchen. You're quiet tonight, he said, pulling me down onto the couch beside him. Just tired, I managed. But as I sat there, surrounded by his family, one thought kept echoing in my head. Harmony knew something. And whatever it was, she was glad I'd been rejected. I was going to find out what she'd done to me. And when I did, she was going to pay for it. I waited 3 days before calling Zane. He was Bobby's friend from college, worked in IT at the university, and had always been kind to me. More importantly, he'd seen enough of Harmony's behavior at family gatherings to know she wasn't the saint everyone thought she was. Heidi, what's up? His voice was cautious when he answered. I need a favor, a big one. Okay, what kind of favor? I took a deep breath. I need you to help me get a copy of something from the university system. Something I should have access to, but they're blocking me from seeing. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he sighed. This is about the fellowship rejection, isn't it? How did you... Bobby mentioned it. Look, Heidi, I can't just hack into confidential files. I could lose my job. I'm not asking you to hack anything. I just need you to help me access my own application materials. They're stonewalling me, and I think someone wrote something terrible about me. Who would do that? I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud yet. I don't know. That's what I need to find out. Another long pause. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street tomorrow at lunch. And Heidi? Don't tell anyone about this conversation. The next day, Zane looked nervous as he slid into the booth across from me. He kept glancing around like he expected campus security to burst through the door. I've been thinking about this all night, he said. If I do this and get caught, it's not just my job on the line. It's criminal charges. I understand. But Zane, someone destroyed my reputation and I don't even know what they said about me. How is that fair? He studied my face for a long moment. You really think someone sabotaged you? I know it sounds paranoid, but yes, the language in that rejection letter, it wasn't about my qualifications. It was personal. Zane pulled out his laptop and opened it, shielding the screen from other customers. Okay, I can't promise anything, but let me see what I can do. What's your student ID number? I rattled it off, my heart pounding as he typed. After what felt like forever, he turned the screen toward me. I found your file. The recommendation letters are here, but they're password protected. I can download them, but once I do this, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to know? My mouth was dry. Yes. He clicked a few more keys, then closed the laptop. I'll email these to you from a secure account. Check your messages in an hour. Zane, thank you. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Just be careful with whatever you find, okay? That hour was the longest of my life. When the email finally came, I stared at the attachment for 5 full minutes before opening it. There were 3 files. one from each of my recommenders. Professor Martinez's letter was glowing, just as I'd expected. Dr. Kim's was equally positive. Then I opened the third file. The letter was from Harmony, but it wasn't the one she'd shown me. This one was a masterpiece of character assassination disguised as professional concern. While Ms. Heidi possesses adequate academic credentials, I have serious reservations about her character and professional integrity. During our association, I have observed troubling patterns of dishonesty, manipulation, and a concerning willingness to compromise ethical standards for personal gain. The letter went on for 2 pages, painting me as a manipulative liar who couldn't be trusted with any position of responsibility. Every sentence was carefully crafted to sound professional while being utterly devastating. I read it 3 times before the full impact hit me. This wasn't just sabotage, it was character murder. My phone rang. Bobby. "Hey babe, how was your day?" "Fine," I said, my voice sounding strange even to me. "You sure? You sound weird." "I'm just tired, long day." "Well, get some rest. Mom invited us for dinner tomorrow night. She's making that pasta dish you like." After I hung up, I sat staring at the letter until the words blurred together. Then I called Alyssa. "She destroyed me," I said without preamble when she answered. "What? Who?" "Harmony. I got a copy of her recommendation letter." "Alyssa, she called me dishonest and manipulative. She said I have no professional integrity." "Jesus Christ, are you sure it's really from her?" "It has her digital signature, her university letterhead, everything. But here's the thing, she showed me a completely different letter before I submitted my application, a glowing one." "That bitch wrote 2 letters?" "She played me perfectly, made me think she was supporting me while she was stabbing me in the back." Alyssa was quiet for a moment. "Heidi, this is bigger than just the fellowship. If she sent this to other places..." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "Recommendation letters don't just disappear. They get filed, shared, referenced. If she's been bad-mouthing you to other institutions..." I felt sick. "How do I find out?" "You need to contact every place that might have received information about you. Graduate programs, job applications, anything where her opinion might carry weight." I spent the next 2 hours making calls. By the end, I had my answer. Harmony's poison had spread far beyond the fellowship committee. She'd sent versions of that letter to 3 other institutions I'd applied to over the past year. I'd been blacklisted, and I hadn't even known it. The scope of Harmony's sabotage hit me like a freight train. 3 other institutions. 3 other opportunities she'd poisoned with her lies. I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by printed emails, phone records, and notes, building my case like I was preparing for war, because that's exactly what this was. "You need to report her," Alyssa said over video chat, her face serious on my laptop screen. "This isn't just personal vendetta territory anymore. This is professional misconduct on a massive scale." "Report her to who? She's a dean, Alyssa. Who's going to believe me over her?" "The University Ethics Board. They handle this kind of thing." I laughed bitterly. "Right. And who do you think sits on that board? Her colleagues? Her friends?" "Not all of them." Alyssa leaned closer to her camera. "Remember Professor Griffin, your favorite from undergrad?" The name hit me like lightning. Erin Griffin, the brilliant professor who'd inspired me to pursue international development in the first place. She'd left our university suddenly during my senior year, right after some kind of scandal. "What about her?" "She's at State University now. Just got appointed head of their ethics board. Heidi, if anyone would understand what you're going through, it's her." I stared at Alyssa's pixelated face. "What scandal? I never found out what really happened." "Nobody talked about it officially, but there were rumors. Something about research funding being questioned, her integrity being challenged. Sound familiar?" My hands started shaking. "You think Harmony was involved?" "I think Harmony has a pattern, and you're not her first victim." After we hung up, I spent an hour crafting an email to Professor Griffin. I attached everything: Harmony's fake letter, the real one, documentation of the other institutions that had been contacted, and a timeline of events. My finger hovered over the send button for 10 minutes. Once I sent this, there would be no going back. I'd be declaring war on my husband's mother, potentially destroying my marriage, definitely tearing apart his family. I hit send. Professor Griffin called me 2 hours later. Heidi, I just read your email. Can you meet me tomorrow? I'm driving down to the city. You believe me? Oh, I more than believe you. I've been waiting 12 years for someone to finally expose what that woman really is. We met at a small cafe downtown. Professor Griffin looked older than I remembered, but her eyes still held that sharp intelligence that had made her lectures so captivating. Tell me everything, she said after we'd ordered coffee. I walked her through the entire story, from Harmony's initial encouragement to the devastating rejection letter. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. The letter she showed you versus the one she actually sent, she said finally. Do you still have both? I have screenshots of the fake one she showed me, and Zane got me the real one from the system. Zane could get in serious trouble for that. I know, but Professor Griffin, what she did to me, she's done it before, hasn't she? To you? Her jaw tightened. 12 years ago, I was up for a major research grant. Harmony was on the review committee. She seemed supportive, even helped me refine my proposal. Then suddenly questions arose about my previous work. Allegations of data manipulation that were completely fabricated. What happened? I couldn't prove she was behind it, but I knew. The investigation dragged on for months. Even though I was eventually cleared, the damage was done. My reputation was shot. My funding dried up. I had to leave. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Because now we have a chance to stop her from doing this to anyone else. She leaned forward. Heidi, I need you to understand something. If we pursue this, it's going to get ugly. Harmony will fight back with everything she has. She already destroyed my career. What else can she do to me? She can destroy your marriage, your relationships with Bobby's family. She can make your life hell in ways you haven't even imagined yet. I thought about Bobby, about how devastated he'd be when he learned the truth about his mother, about Taylor, who looked up to me, about the family dinners that would never be the same. She made her choice when she decided to destroy me, I said. Now I'm making mine. Professor Griffin smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. Good, because I've been documenting Harmony's behavior for years, waiting for the right moment. You just gave it to me. She pulled out a thick folder from her briefcase. I've kept records of every questionable decision she's made, every career she's derailed, every student who's come to me with stories similar to yours. We're not just going after her for what she did to you, Heidi. We're going after her for all of it. I stared at the folder, realizing I wasn't alone in this fight. How many others? At least 8 that I can prove. Probably more who were too scared to come forward. What do we do now? Now we file a formal complaint with the University Ethics Board, and then we watch Harmony's world burn. The university moved faster than I expected. Within a week of filing the complaint, Harmony received a formal notice that she was under investigation. I knew because Bobby came home that night looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Mom got called into a meeting with the ethics board, he said, slumping onto our couch. They're investigating her for professional misconduct. I kept my face neutral while my heart hammered against my ribs. What kind of misconduct? Something about recommendation letters. She thinks it's politically motivated. You know how cutthroat academia can be. I'm sure it'll work out, I said, hating how easily the lie rolled off my tongue. Bobby looked at me with those trusting eyes that had made me fall in love with him. She asked if you might know anything about it. Apparently, your name came up in the complaint. My name? She thinks maybe you're being used as a pawn by someone with a grudge against her. She's worried about you, babe. I almost laughed at the audacity. Even while under investigation, Harmony was spinning herself as the victim and me as the naive fool being manipulated by her enemies. "I should probably call her," I said. "Make sure she knows I support her." The next morning, I dialed Harmony's number. She answered on the first ring. "Heidi, darling, I'm so glad you called. I assume Bobby told you about this ridiculous investigation?" "He did. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's clearly a witch hunt orchestrated by my enemies, but I'm not worried. The truth always comes out." Her voice was smooth as silk, but I could hear the steel underneath. "I do hope you'll be willing to speak on my behalf if needed. Your testimony about our positive relationship would be very helpful." "Of course," I said. "Anything I can do to help." "Wonderful. I knew I could count on you." After I hung up, I felt sick. She was so confident, so sure she could manipulate everyone around her. Even now, she thought she had me under her thumb. That afternoon, Paige called. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. "Can you meet me for coffee?" I found her at a Starbucks near her office, looking more serious than I'd ever seen her. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I know you filed that complaint against Mom." My blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me, Heidi. I've known my mother my entire life. I know how she operates, and I know what she's capable of." Paige leaned across the small table. "The question is, do you have any idea what you've unleashed? She destroyed my career, Paige. She lied about me to multiple institutions. I know." The admission hit me like a slap. I've known for years that she does this to people who threaten her or don't fit into her perfect vision of how things should be. Then why didn't you ever say anything? "Because she's my mother." Paige's voice cracked. "Because I was scared of what would happen if I crossed her. Because I'm a coward, okay?" We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her confession hanging between us. "She's going to destroy you for this," Paige said quietly. "She's already started digging into your past, looking for anything she can use against you. She's calling in favors, spreading rumors, poisoning wells you don't even know exist yet. Let her try. I have evidence." "Evidence won't matter if no one's willing to listen to it. And Mom has a lot of friends in high places." "Not all of them." Paige studied my face. "You have someone on the inside, don't you? Someone she can't touch." I didn't answer, but my expression must have given me away. "Jesus, Heidi, you really think you can win this?" "I think she's gotten away with ruining people's lives for too long." "And what about Bobby? What about Taylor? What about our family? What about all the people she's destroyed over the years? Don't they matter?" Paige's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and paled. "She wants to see me, right now." "Paige, don't. Whatever you're about to say, just don't." She stood up, gathering her purse. "I can't protect you from what's coming, but I can give you one piece of advice. Watch your back. Mom doesn't just destroy careers, she destroys lives." That evening, Bobby was unusually quiet during dinner. Finally, he set down his fork and looked at me. "Mom wants to have a family meeting tomorrow night. She says there are some things we need to discuss about this investigation." "What kind of things?" She wouldn't say. "But Heidi..." He reached across the table and took my hand. "Whatever happens, we'll get through it together, okay?" I squeezed his hand, knowing it might be one of the last times he'd look at me with such trust and love. "Together," I agreed, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop now or I'll make sure you lose everything that matters to you. This is your only warning. H." I deleted the message and smiled. Game on, Harmony. The family meeting was set for Sunday dinner, but Professor Griffin called me that morning with news that changed everything. "The investigation committee wants to interview you tomorrow," she said. "But Heidi, there's something else. We found more victims." "How many more?" 6 additional cases we can substantiate. Students, junior faculty, even a visiting researcher from Germany. Harmony has been systematically destroying careers for over a decade. I sat down hard on my kitchen chair. 12 years of this? At least. And here's the kicker. She kept files, detailed records of everyone she considered a threat to the university's reputation or her own position. Files, digital records, correspondence, even personal information she gathered on people. The IT department found them during their investigation. Heidi, your name is in there, along with detailed notes about your marriage to Bobby, your academic history, even your financial situation. My hands started shaking. She was planning this from the beginning. It looks that way, but there's more. Paige's name is in there too. Paige, but she's her daughter. Apparently, Harmony was concerned about Paige's lack of ambition and tendency toward defiance. She has contingency plans for controlling her too. I thought about Paige's warning yesterday, her admission that she'd known about her mother's behavior, but stayed silent out of fear. Professor Griffin, what happens now? Now we present everything to the full ethics board. With this much evidence, there's no way they can ignore it or sweep it under the rug. After we hung up, I stared at my phone, dreading the evening ahead. Bobby would be expecting me at his mother's house in a few hours, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. I arrived at Harmony's house to find the whole family already gathered in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. Taylor kept glancing between his mother and me, Paige sat rigid in her chair, and Bobby looked like he hadn't slept. Now that we're all here, Harmony began, her voice carrying that familiar authority, I want to discuss this investigation and how it affects our family. She was dressed impeccably as always, but I noticed the slight tremor in her hands as she reached for her wine glass. As you all know, I'm being targeted by individuals who want to damage my reputation and, by extension, this family's standing in the community. Mom, Taylor interrupted. What exactly are they accusing you of? Harmony's smile was razor-sharp. They're claiming I wrote negative recommendation letters about certain individuals. It's completely fabricated, of course. But why would anyone make that up? Taylor pressed. Because, darling, success breeds jealousy. There are people who resent my position, my influence, and they're using this investigation to try to bring me down. I watched Bobby's face as his mother spoke. He wanted to believe her. I could see it in his eyes, but doubt was creeping in. The problem, Harmony continued, turning her gaze directly to me, is that some people in this family might be unknowingly helping my enemies. What do you mean? Bobby asked. I mean that someone has been feeding information to the investigators. Someone with access to our family conversations, our private discussions. Her eyes never left mine. Someone who might think they're doing the right thing, but is actually being manipulated. The room went dead silent. Taylor looked confused. Paige stared at her lap, and Bobby's face went pale. Mom, are you suggesting that someone in this room... I'm not suggesting anything, Harmony said smoothly. I'm simply pointing out that the timing of this investigation is very convenient for certain people who might benefit from my downfall. That's enough. The voice came from an unexpected source. Paige. She stood up, her hands clenched into fists. Just stop it, Mom. Paige, sit down. No, I'm done sitting down. I'm done staying quiet while you destroy people. Paige turned to face the rest of us. She did it. Everything they're investigating, she did it. Harmony's mask finally slipped. You ungrateful little... I've seen the files, Mom. The ones you keep on all of us. Yes, even me. Even your own daughter isn't safe from your need to control everything and everyone. Bobby stood up slowly. What files? Ask her, Paige said, pointing at Harmony. Ask her about the detailed records she keeps on everyone she considers a threat. Ask her about the backup plans she has for controlling our lives. Those files are confidential university business, Harmony snapped, but her composure was cracking. University business? I finally spoke up. Is that what you call the file you kept on me? The one where you documented my marriage, my finances, my career goals, so you could figure out the best way to destroy me? Bobby's head whipped toward me. Heidi, what are you talking about? Your mother wrote a recommendation letter that destroyed my fellowship application and blacklisted me from other opportunities. She's been systematically ruining careers for over a decade. That's a lie, Harmony said, but her voice was shrill now. I have copies of the letters, Bobby, the fake one she showed me and the real one she sent. I have documentation of every institution she contacted to poison my reputation. Bobby looked between his mother and me, his world visibly crumbling. Mom, tell me this isn't true. Harmony straightened her shoulders, her mask sliding back into place. Everything I did was to protect this family, to protect you from making a mistake that would have ruined your marriage. The admission hung in the air like a bomb that had just gone off. You did it, Bobby whispered. You actually did it. I saved your marriage, Harmony said coldly. That woman would have left you the moment she got that fellowship. I protected you from abandonment. Taylor stood up abruptly. I can't listen to this anymore. Heidi, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He walked out, leaving the rest of us in stunned silence. The ethics board hearing was held in the university's main conference room. I sat in the witness section, watching Harmony enter with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit who probably cost more per hour than I made in a week. Professor Griffin sat at the head of the long table, flanked by 4 other board members. She'd warned me that this wouldn't be easy, that Harmony would fight back with everything she had. This hearing will address allegations of professional misconduct against Dean Harmony Boyd, Professor Griffin announced. We'll begin with testimony from the complainant. I stood up, my legs shaky but my voice steady. My name is Heidi Boyd. I'm married to the respondent's son. Harmony's lawyer immediately objected. The complainant's relationship to my client creates an obvious bias and conflict of interest. Noted, Professor Griffin said. Please continue, Ms. Boyd. I walked them through everything, the fellowship application, Harmony's fake encouragement, the devastating rejection, and the discovery of her real recommendation letter. I presented the evidence methodically, screenshots, email records, documentation from other institutions. The respondent didn't just sabotage one application, I said. She systematically destroyed my reputation across multiple institutions while pretending to support me. Harmony's lawyer stood up. My client was exercising her professional judgment based on legitimate concerns about the complainant's character and suitability. What legitimate concerns? Professor Griffin asked. The lawyer shuffled through her papers. Dean Boyd observed troubling patterns of behavior that raised questions about Ms. Boyd's integrity and professional conduct, such as manipulation of family relationships for personal gain, dishonesty about her true intentions regarding the fellowship, and a concerning pattern of... That's enough, Professor Griffin interrupted. Do you have documentation of these alleged behaviors? The lawyer hesitated. My client's professional observations and judgment. Documentation, counselor, not opinions. The documentation speaks for itself in the recommendation letter. Professor Griffin turned to Harmony. Dean Boyd, you're required to testify under oath. Do you swear that the contents of your recommendation letter were based on factual observations? Harmony stood up, still maintaining her composure. I swear that everything I wrote was based on my professional assessment of the complainant's character and suitability for the fellowship. And yet you showed Ms. Boyd a completely different letter before she submitted her application? That was a draft. I revised my assessment after further consideration. Further consideration of what, specifically? Harmony's pause lasted too long. Additional observations of her behavior and motivations. Professor Griffin opened a thick folder. Dean Boyd, Are you familiar with the digital files recovered from your university computer? The color drained from Harmony's face. I don't know what you're referring to. Files containing detailed personal information about students, faculty, and staff. Information that goes far beyond professional assessments. Professor Griffin pulled out several documents. Files that include financial records, personal relationships, and what appear to be strategic plans for influencing or controlling individuals' careers. Harmony's lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but Harmony waved her away. Those files contain confidential university business. University business that includes your daughter-in-law's bank statements, her husband's employment history, her personal correspondence with friends and colleagues. The room was dead silent. I could feel the other board members' shock radiating across the table. Dean Boyd, Professor Griffin continued, we've identified 12 individuals whose careers were negatively impacted by your actions over the past 15 years. Would you like to explain why you systematically targeted people who posed no threat to university operations? I protected this institution. You protected your own position by eliminating anyone you perceived as competition or a challenge to your authority. Bobby's voice came from behind me. I'd like to testify. Everyone turned. He was standing in the back of the room, looking like he'd aged 10 years since Sunday night. Mr. Boyd, you weren't scheduled to appear today, Professor Griffin said gently. I know, but I need to say this. He walked forward, his eyes fixed on his mother. I've known my whole life that my mother was controlling, but I thought it was just overprotectiveness. I never imagined she was capable of this. Bobby, don't, Harmony said, her voice cracking for the first time. She admitted it, in front of our whole family. She said she destroyed my wife's career to protect me. She said Heidi would have left me if she'd gotten the fellowship. Bobby's voice was getting stronger. My mother decided my wife was a threat to her vision of our family, so she destroyed her dreams. That's not, Harmony started. It is exactly what happened. And if she did it to Heidi, she did it to all these other people too. Professor Griffin looked at Harmony. Dean Boyd, do you have anything else to say in your defense? Harmony stood there for a long moment, her perfect composure finally crumbling. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I did what I thought was necessary. Necessary for what? To maintain order, to protect what mattered. By destroying innocent people's careers? Harmony lifted her chin, and for a moment the mask was completely gone. What I saw underneath was cold, calculating, and utterly without remorse. I have no regrets about protecting my family and my institution from people who would have damaged them. The hearing ended 20 minutes later. As we filed out, Harmony walked past me without a word. But I caught her eye, and in that moment, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she'd been caught. The university's decision came down 3 days after the hearing. Professor Griffin called me personally to deliver the news. Harmony's tenure has been revoked, effective immediately, she said. She's been terminated for cause, which means no severance, no benefits, and her pension is under review. What about the other victims? The university is reaching out to everyone affected. They're offering to write corrective letters, provide new recommendations, and in some cases, financial compensation for damages. I hung up and stared at my phone. It was over. Harmony had finally faced consequences for her actions, but the victory felt hollow when Bobby walked through our front door that evening, looking like a ghost. It's all over the news, he said, slumping onto our couch. Local stations, academic journals, social media, everyone's calling her a monster. Bobby. She is a monster, isn't she? He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. My mother destroyed people's lives for sport, and I never saw it. You couldn't have known. Couldn't I? All those times she made snide comments about people, all the careers that mysteriously stalled around her, all the students who just disappeared from programs. He rubbed his face with his hands. I think part of me always knew, but I didn't want to see it. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Bobby spoke again. I don't know how to forgive you. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? You lied to me for weeks. You went behind my back, enlisted my friends, destroyed my family. I know she deserved it, but you lied to me. I tried to tell you, no, you didn't. You made the decision to destroy my mother without ever giving me a choice in the matter. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but he was right. I had lied. I had gone behind his back. I had chosen revenge over trust. I'm sorry, I said. I know you are, but I don't know if sorry is enough. The next morning, Taylor showed up at our door with a suitcase. Can I stay here for a while? He asked. I can't be in the same house as her anymore. Of course, I said, stepping aside to let him in. What did she say when you told her you were leaving? That I was being manipulated by you, just like Bobby was. That I'd regret choosing sides against family. Taylor dropped his bag and looked at me. But you are family, Heidi. You've been more of a mother to me these past 2 years than she ever was. Bobby emerged from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Hey, buddy, you okay? No, Taylor said honestly, but I will be. We all will be. That afternoon, Paige called. I wanted to thank you, she said without preamble. For what? For having the courage to do what I couldn't. I've been living in fear of her my entire life, and you freed me from that. How is she handling everything? Paige was quiet for a moment. She's not. She's holed up in the house, refusing to see anyone or answer the phone. I think reality is finally hitting her. Do you think she'll ever admit what she did was wrong? No. She'll go to her grave believing she was protecting people from themselves. That's who she is. The fellowship committee reached out to me the following week. They offered to reconsider my application based on the corrected information, but I turned them down. Why? Alyssa asked when I told her. This is what you wanted. It was what I wanted before all this happened. Now, I don't know. The whole experience changed me. Changed you how? I thought about it. I learned I'm capable of things I never thought I was. Good things and terrible things. I destroyed a family to get justice, and I'm not sure that makes me a hero. You stopped a predator who was ruining innocent people's lives. I did, but I also lost my husband's trust, maybe permanently. I turned his brother against his mother. I tore apart a family that was built on lies and control. Maybe, but it was still a family. Zayn stopped by that evening to check on us. He'd been cleared of any wrongdoing in the investigation, but I knew he was still worried about the fallout. Any word from Harmony? He asked. Bobby shook his head. She's been radio silent since the termination. Paige says she won't even come to the door. What do you think she'll do now? I don't know, Bobby said. Start over somewhere else, probably. She's too proud to admit defeat. Will she be able to get another job in academia? Not likely. This kind of scandal follows you. As Zayn left, I realized something. Harmony had spent her career destroying other people's futures, and now her own future was destroyed. There was a certain poetic justice in that. But as I watched Bobby struggle with the wreckage of his family, I wondered if justice was worth the cost. Taylor appeared in the doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder. I'm going to stay with a friend tonight, he said. Give you two some space to figure things out. After he left, Bobby and I sat on opposite ends of our couch, the distance between us feeling like an ocean. So, what happens now? I asked. Bobby was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I nodded, accepting that some victories come with prices too high to celebrate. I'd gotten my justice, but I'd lost something precious in the process. The truth had set me free, but it had also set everything else on fire. And now we all had to live in the ashes.
The needle went in for the 347th time, and I didn't even flinch anymore. My name is Melina, and I used to be the kind of person who passed out getting blood drawn. Now I could probably perform my own injections blindfolded. 3 years of IVF will do that to you. Turn you into someone you don't recognize. Someone who measures life in hormone cycles and embryo grades instead of birthdays and anniversaries. This is it, Victor said, squeezing my hand as Dr. Martinez prepared the transfer. I can feel it this time. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe him. But after 17 failed attempts, hope felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. The clinic walls had become more familiar than our bedroom. The nurses knew my coffee order. I had a frequent patient discount for crying out loud. The embryo looks perfect, Dr. Martinez said, adjusting the ultrasound screen. Grade AA, your best quality yet. Victor's grip tightened. See? This is our baby, Mel. I know it. I nodded, watching our last viable embryo disappear into the catheter. Our final shot. The embryo we'd been saving, the one that had survived when all the others hadn't. My body had been through hell. The surgeries, the medications that made me feel like I was losing my mind. The weight gain, the mood swings that nearly destroyed us twice. Now we wait, Dr. Martinez said, patting my shoulder. 2 weeks, then we'll know for sure. 2 weeks. 14 days of walking on eggshells, analyzing every cramp, every twinge, every moment of nausea that might mean everything or nothing at all. The drive home was quiet. Victor kept glancing at me like I might shatter, which wasn't entirely wrong. I felt fragile in a way that had nothing to do with the procedure and everything to do with the weight of this being our last chance. Want to stop for ice cream? He asked. I'm not pregnant yet, Victor. But you could be. I almost smiled. Almost. Okay, ice cream. We sat in the parking lot of the Dairy Queen, eating chocolate sundaes like teenagers, and for a moment I remembered why I'd fallen in love with him. Victor had this way of making ordinary moments feel special, of finding light in the darkest places. It's what had gotten us through the first year of treatments, then the second. Whatever happens, he said, we're going to be okay. I wanted to ask him how he could be so sure, but I was too tired for that conversation. We'd had it before, about adoption, about living child-free, about all the other paths we could take, but none of them felt real to me. This had to work. It had to. The call came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 14 days later. I was in the middle of a client presentation when my phone buzzed with Dr. Martinez's number. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway, my heart hammering against my ribs. Melina, I'm so sorry. The words hit me like a physical blow. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, the phone pressed to my ear as Dr. Martinez explained about hormone levels and negative results, and how sometimes these things just don't work out. I don't remember hanging up. I don't remember driving home. I just remember Victor finding me on our couch, still in my work clothes, staring at nothing. Mel? He sat down beside me, his face already crumbling. What did they say? It didn't work. He pulled me against him, and we cried together like we had so many times before. But this felt different, final. We'd used up our savings, maxed out credit cards, put our entire lives on hold for 3 years. There was nothing left to try. I'm sorry, I whispered into his shirt. I'm so sorry I can't do this. Hey. He tilted my chin up. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. We held each other until the sun went down, and then Victor made us grilled cheese sandwiches that we barely touched. We went to bed early, wrapped around each other like survivors of a shipwreck. The next morning, Victor was different, energized in a way I hadn't seen in months. I've been thinking, he said over coffee. We're not done yet. Victor, we can't afford the house. He leaned forward, his eyes bright. We could take out a second mortgage. One more try, Mel. Just one more. I stared at him. Our house was the only thing we had left that was truly ours, the only security we hadn't gambled away on maybe babies. I know it's a lot to ask, he continued, but think about it. We've come so far, and Dr. Martinez said we could try again with donor eggs, increase our chances significantly. Victor. Family first, right? That's what we've always said. Our family is worth everything. Something in his tone made me pause. The way he said, family first, like he was quoting someone else. But before I could ask, he was pulling out his laptop, showing me mortgage calculators and success rates, and all the reasons why this could work. 2 hours later, I was signing papers through tears, watching our home become collateral for one last desperate gamble. Victor kissed my forehead and whispered promises about how this time would be different. I believed him. God help me. I believed him. The email notification popped up on my phone while I was brushing my teeth 3 days later. A shipping confirmation from Pottery Barn Kids. I nearly choked on my toothpaste. Victor? I called out, but he was already in the shower. I stared at the screen, reading the details twice. A $3,200 nursery set, crib, changing table, dresser, the works. Delivery address, 847 Maple Street. That was Jolie's address. Victor's sister, Jolie. My hands started shaking. There had to be an explanation. Maybe she'd ordered something and accidentally used our credit card. It happens sometimes with family accounts, but $200? And why would she need a nursery set? Jolie had been trying to get pregnant for years with no luck. She'd made that abundantly clear at every family gathering, usually while shooting pointed looks at my still flat stomach. Hey, babe, did your sister mention buying baby furniture? I asked when Victor emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist. He froze for just a second. Baby furniture? I got a shipping notification. Pottery Barn Kids, delivered to her house. Oh. He turned away, rummaging through his dresser. Yeah, she mentioned something about that. Helping out a friend, I think. You know how Jolie is with her charity projects. The explanation felt thin, but I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. We were barely holding ourselves together as it was. A $200 charity project. You know my family. Victor pulled on his shirt without meeting my eyes. They go big or go home. That afternoon, I couldn't concentrate on work. The shipping notification kept nagging at me like a splinter. During my lunch break, I drove past Jolie's house. The delivery truck was just pulling away, and I watched through my windshield as Daryl, Jolie's husband, signed for multiple large boxes. He looked excited, not like someone receiving donations for charity. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to make sense of it. Maybe they were finally doing IVF too. But Jolie had always been vocal about not wanting to go through what I'd been through. All those hormones and procedures, she'd said once. There has to be a more natural way. My phone buzzed with a text from Victor. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Another late night. He'd been having a lot of those lately. When I got home, I found myself standing in our spare room, the room we'd painted yellow 3 years ago. The room where we'd assembled and disassembled a crib 4 different times after failed transfers. The room that now served as storage for all our broken dreams. I opened Victor's laptop to pay some bills. He'd left his email open, and I wasn't trying to snoop, but a message thread caught my eye. The subject line read, "Family Legacy Project." My cursor hovered over it. I shouldn't look. Married couples deserved privacy, but something cold and sharp was growing in my chest, and I clicked before I could stop myself. The conversation was between Victor and his mother, Naomi. Dozens of messages going back weeks. Naomi: "The clinic confirmed everything is ready. Jolie is so grateful." Victor: "She deserves this. Family first always." Naomi: "You're doing the right thing. Melina will understand eventually." Victor: "She doesn't need to know the details. What matters is keeping our legacy alive." Naomi: "Jolie's appointment is Thursday. Dr. Martinez said the embryo is perfect quality." My vision blurred. I read the messages again, then again, trying to make them say something different. But the words stayed the same. Our embryo. They were talking about our embryo. I scrolled up, finding older messages. Victor: "The mortgage went through. We have enough to cover everything. The procedure, the medications, plus extra for the nursery." Naomi: "Jolie picked out the most beautiful furniture. She has such good taste." Victor: "Melina signed everything yesterday. She has no idea." The laptop slipped from my hands, clattering onto the hardwood floor. I was hyperventilating, the room spinning around me. This couldn't be real. Victor wouldn't do this. He couldn't. But the evidence was right there in black and white. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up until there was nothing left. Then I sat on the cold tile floor, my back against the bathtub, trying to process what I'd just read. They'd taken our embryo, our last chance, the baby we'd mortgaged our house for, the baby I'd destroyed my body trying to create. They'd given it to Jolie. My phone rang. Victor's name flashed on the screen. "Hey," I answered, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. "Just checking in. How are you feeling?" "Fine. Just tired." "Good. Listen, Mom wants us to come over this weekend. Some kind of family celebration." "What are we celebrating?" A pause. "I'll tell you later. Love you." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the bathroom until it got dark, pieces clicking into place. Victor's late nights, his sudden optimism about the mortgage, the way he'd avoided my eyes when I asked about the furniture delivery. "Family first," he'd said when I signed the papers. Not our family. His family. I pulled myself up and walked back to the laptop. There were more emails, more messages. I read every single one, documenting the betrayal in excruciating detail. Then I opened a new browser window and searched for fertility fraud attorneys. If they wanted to play family games, I'd show them what family loyalty really looked like. I called the fertility clinic first thing Monday morning, my hands steady for the first time in days. "Hi, this is Melina Bryant. I need to schedule a consultation about my recent cycle." "Of course, Mrs. Bryant. Dr. Martinez has an opening Thursday at 2. "Actually, I was hoping to speak with someone about billing discrepancies. There seems to be some confusion about which procedures were performed and when." The receptionist's voice shifted slightly. "I can transfer you to our billing department." That would be perfect. 20 minutes later, I had what I needed. Jolie Bryant Tucker had indeed received an embryo transfer 2 weeks ago, the same day Victor told me our last embryo had failed. I sat in my car outside the clinic, staring at the printout I'd somehow convinced them to give me. There it was in black and white, my embryo, transferred to my sister-in-law while I was mourning its supposed failure at home. My phone buzzed. Jailer. Coffee. You sounded weird in your text last night. Can you meet me at Brewster's? I need to tell you something. 30 minutes later, I slid the clinic paperwork across the table to my best friend. Jailer's eyes widened as she read. Holy shit, Mel! Are you telling me? They stole my embryo. Victor, his mother, his sister. They planned the whole thing. Jailer's coffee cup hit the table hard. This is insane. Like, actually insane. You need to call the police. And say what? My husband gave our embryo to his sister. They'll ask if I consented, and technically, I signed papers. Papers for your own treatment, not for Jolie's. I pulled out my phone and showed her the email thread I'd screenshotted. Jailer read in silence, her face growing darker with each message. Melina will understand eventually, she quoted. Are you kidding me right now? There's more. I scrolled to another message. Look at this one from last month. Naomi. Jolie's so excited she can barely contain herself. She keeps talking about finally having the baby she deserves. Victor. She'll be a great mother. Better than... The message cut off there, but we both knew what he'd been about to say. I'm going to kill him, Jailer said flatly. I'm literally going to murder your husband. Get in line. Mel, you need a lawyer. Like, yesterday. This is fraud. This is theft. This is... I don't even know what this is, but it's illegal as hell. I nodded, pulling up the list of attorneys I'd researched. I already have some names. Good. What else do you need? Evidence. More than just emails. I need to know everything. How they did it, when they planned it, who else knew? Jailer leaned forward. What are you thinking? Victor's been working late a lot. Tonight I'm going to do some digging. I'm coming with you. Jailer? Nope. You're not doing this alone. Besides, you need a witness for whatever you find. That evening, Victor texted his usual excuse about working late. I waited until 8. Then Jailer came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. Liquid courage, she said, uncorking it. Now show me everything. We spread out on the living room floor like we were planning a heist. Victor's laptop, printed emails, bank statements I'd pulled from our files, and the clinic paperwork. Look at this, I said, pointing to a credit card statement. 3 charges to Miracle Beginnings Boutique last month, $500 each. What's Miracle Beginnings? I Googled it. High-end maternity store, the kind that sells $200 pregnancy pillows. So, Jolie's been shopping for maternity clothes with your money. Our money. The mortgage money. Jailer poured herself more wine. This keeps getting worse. What else? I opened Victor's browser history. He's been researching pregnancy announcements. Look, creative ways to announce pregnancy to family. Best pregnancy reveal ideas. How to share pregnancy news. They're planning some kind of announcement. At the family celebration this weekend, the one Victor mentioned, Jailer sat back. Oh my God, they're going to announce Jolie's pregnancy, your pregnancy, using your baby. The reality hit me like a truck. I'd be sitting there, still mourning our failed cycle, while they celebrated stealing our child. I can't go, I whispered. Yes, you can, and you will, because by then, you're going to have a plan. My phone rang. Victor. Answer it, Jailer mouthed. Act normal. Hey, I said, forcing lightness into my voice. Just wanted to check in. You okay? You seemed quiet this morning. I'm fine. Just tired. Jayla's here keeping me company. Good. I'm glad you're not alone. Listen, about this weekend. The family thing? Yeah, it's going to be special. Really special. I think it'll cheer you up. I met Jayla's eyes. She looked murderous. I'm looking forward to it. I lied. Great. I love you, Mel. You know that, right? Of course. After I hung up, Jayla shook her head. The audacity. The absolute fucking audacity. He actually thinks he's being kind, like this is some gift he's giving me. What gift? Watching his sister raise your baby? I stared at the evidence scattered around us. I need more than this. I need something that proves intent, proves they knew exactly what they were doing. What about Caden? Jayla suggested. Victor's younger brother. He always seemed decent. You think he knows? Only one way to find out. I found Caden's number and called before I could lose my nerve. Melina, is everything okay? Can we meet? I need to ask you something, and I'd rather do it in person. A long pause. This is about the weekend, isn't it? My blood went cold. What do you mean? Meet me at Central Park tomorrow, the bench by the duck pond, noon. He hung up. Jayla and I looked at each other. He knows, she said. Yeah, he knows. Caden was already waiting when I arrived at the park, hunched over on the bench like he was carrying the weight of the world. He looked up when he heard my footsteps, and I could see the guilt written all over his face. I'm sorry, he said before I even sat down. I'm so fucking sorry, Melina. So you know. He nodded, staring at his hands. I tried to talk them out of it. I swear I did. But Mom, she gets these ideas, and Victor just goes along with whatever she says. Tell me everything. Caden glanced around like he was afraid someone might overhear. It started months ago. Jolie was having another breakdown about not being able to get pregnant, and Mom suggested they look into using a donor embryo. But then she found out about your last one, the one you were saving. And she convinced Victor it was the perfect solution. Keep it in the family, she said. Make sure the Bryant bloodline continues. I felt sick. What about me? What about what I wanted? Mom said you'd understand eventually, that you'd be happy to help Jolie become a mother. He looked at me with desperate eyes. I told them it was wrong. I told them you deserved to know. But you didn't tell me. I should have. God, I should have called you the minute I found out. But they're my family. And I... He stopped, shaking his head. That's not an excuse. There is no excuse. When did they do the transfer? 2 weeks ago. The same day Victor told you it failed. Dr. Martinez was in on it. They paid him extra to keep quiet and falsify your records. The betrayal kept getting deeper. Even our doctor, the man I'd trusted with my body and my dreams, had sold me out. There's more, Caden continued. The mortgage money? Most of it went to Jolie. New wardrobe, prenatal vitamins, private ultrasounds, a doula. Mom's been treating her like a princess. And the celebration this weekend? Baby shower. They're calling it a miracle announcement. Jolie's going to reveal the pregnancy to the whole family. I stood up abruptly, pacing to the edge of the pond. A family of ducks swam by, completely oblivious to the fact that my entire world was imploding. Melina? Caden's voice was small behind me. I need you to do something for me. Anything. I turned back to him. I need you to get me proof. Text messages, emails, anything that shows this was planned. I can try, but not try. Do it. You said you're sorry. Prove it. He nodded quickly. Okay. Yes. I'll get you whatever you need. And Caden, don't tell them we talked. I won't. I promise. That afternoon, I sat in the waiting room of Sloane Davidson's law office, clutching a folder full of evidence. The receptionist had warned me that Sloane was expensive, aggressive, and didn't take cases she couldn't win. Perfect. Mrs. Bryant. A woman in a sharp black suit emerged from an office. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with steel-grey eyes that seemed to see right through me. I'm Sloane. Come in. Her office was all glass and chrome, with law degrees covering one wall and a view of the city skyline. She gestured for me to sit across from her massive desk. Tell me what happened. I laid out everything. The failed IVF cycles, the mortgage, the stolen embryo, the emails. Sloane listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. Do you have the clinic records? She asked when I finished. I handed over the paperwork. She studied it carefully. This is good. Very good. What about financial records? Bank statements, credit card bills, everything I could find. And you said there's a family member willing to cooperate? Maybe. He's supposed to get me more evidence. Sloane leaned back in her chair. Here's what we're looking at. Fertility fraud, medical malpractice, theft, conspiracy. This is criminal, not just civil. We're talking felony charges. Good. It won't be easy. Your husband's family will fight back hard. They'll try to paint you as unstable, vindictive. They'll say you consented to the procedure. I have the emails. They prove I didn't know. The emails help, but we need more. We need to catch them in the act of covering it up, or better yet, celebrating their crime. An idea started forming. What if we could record them admitting what they did? That would be ideal, but getting them to confess won't be simple. What about the baby shower? If I could get them talking. Sloane's eyes lit up. That's risky, but if you could get them on record admitting to the fraud... She paused. I have a contact at the police department. Detective Fleming specializes in medical fraud cases. If we can build a solid case, he might be willing to make arrests. At the baby shower? It would certainly send a message. My phone buzzed with a text from Caden. Got what you need? Can we meet tonight? I showed Sloane the message. Your brother-in-law might be the key to this whole thing, she said. If he's willing to testify, if he can provide more evidence. He will. He feels guilty enough. Good. Here's what I want you to do. Meet with him tonight. Get whatever he has. Then we'll contact Detective Fleming and see about setting up surveillance for the baby shower. Surveillance? Audio, video, the works. If they're going to celebrate stealing your baby, let's make sure we have it all on record. I left Sloane's office feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not the desperate, fragile hope of maybe getting pregnant, but the cold, sharp hope of justice. My phone rang as I reached my car. Victor. Hey babe, just confirming for Saturday. Mom wants us there by 2. She's so excited for you to see what Jolie's been up to. I can't wait, I said, and for the first time in weeks, I meant it. You sound better today, more like yourself. I'm feeling much better, like I'm finally seeing things clearly. That's great to hear. I love you, Mel. I know you do, Victor. I know exactly how much you love me. After I hung up, I sat in my car for a long moment, watching people walk by on the sidewalk. Normal people living normal lives. unaware that some families were capable of such breathtaking betrayal. But they were about to find out. Saturday morning, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes, trying to decide what to wear to my own humiliation. Victor was downstairs making coffee, humming like he didn't have a care in the world. "You almost ready?" he called up. "Mom hates when people are late." "5 more minutes," I called back, slipping on the wire Sloane had given me. The recording device was smaller than a matchbox, tucked under my blouse where no one would see it. Detective Fleming had briefed me the night before. "Stay calm. Ask open-ended questions. Let them talk. Don't push too hard or they'll get suspicious." Easy for him to say. He wasn't about to walk into a celebration of his own betrayal. Caden had delivered everything he'd promised, screenshots of family group chats, voice memos of phone calls, even photos of Jolie's ultrasound appointments. The evidence was damning, but Sloane wanted them on record admitting it themselves. "Perfect for court," she'd said. "Nothing beats a confession." Victor was waiting by the car, holding a wrapped gift. "What's that?" I asked. "Just a little something for Jolie. You know how she loves those fancy baby blankets." "A baby blanket, bought with our mortgage money, for our stolen baby." "That's thoughtful," I managed. The drive to his mother's house took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Victor chattering about work, the weather, anything except what was really happening. I watched familiar neighborhoods blur past, thinking about how this was probably the last time I'd make this drive as his wife. "You're quiet today," Victor said as we pulled into the driveway. "Just tired." "Well, this will cheer you up. Trust me." The house was decorated like something out of a magazine. Pink and gold balloons, a banner that read, "Miracle Baby," tables covered in expensive linens. My mortgage money had bought quite the party. Naomi opened the door before we could knock, beaming like she'd won the lottery. "Melina, sweetheart, come in, come in. Isn't this exciting?" "Very exciting," I said, letting her hug me. "What exactly are we celebrating?" "Oh, you'll see. Jolie has the most wonderful news to share." The living room was packed with family and friends, everyone holding champagne glasses and looking expectant. Jolie sat in the center of it all, like a queen on her throne, glowing in a flowing dress that probably cost more than my car payment. "Melina!" She jumped up and hugged me tight. "I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be such a special day." I wouldn't miss it. Daryl appeared at Jolie's side, grinning like an idiot. "Can you believe it? After all these years?" "Believe what?" I asked innocently. "Oh, we can't spoil the surprise," Naomi interrupted, steering me toward the refreshment table. "But let's just say prayers really do get answered." I accepted a glass of sparkling cider and mingled, making small talk while the wire recorded everything. Aunt Patricia gushed about how blessed the family was. Cousin Mark talked about the miracle they'd all been praying for. Uncle Robert made jokes about Jolie finally getting what she deserved. If only they knew. "Attention, everyone!" Naomi clinked her glass with a fork. "Jolie has something very special to share." The room fell silent. Jolie stood up, one hand on her still flat stomach, tears already streaming down her face. "I can't believe I'm finally saying this," she began, her voice shaking with emotion. "After 6 years of trying, after so many disappointments, Daryl and I are having a baby." The room erupted in cheers and applause. People rushed forward to hug her, to touch her belly, to offer congratulations. I stayed where I was, clapping politely, watching my sister-in-law bask in the glory of carrying my child. But that's not all, Jolie continued once the noise died down. This baby is extra special because it's truly a family effort. Thanks to the generosity and sacrifice of people in this very room, our dream is finally coming true. More applause. Victor squeezed my shoulder, probably thinking I was overcome with emotion for Jolie's happiness. I want to especially thank my mother-in-law Naomi for her wisdom and guidance through this process, Jolie went on, and my wonderful brother-in-law Victor for making this possible. Victor stepped forward, raising his glass. To family, he said, to the lengths we go for the people we love, to making sure the Bryant legacy continues, no matter what sacrifices are required. To family! The room chorused. I raised my glass with everyone else, the wire capturing every word. Speech! Speech! Someone called out. Victor looked at me. Mel, want to say something? This was it. My moment to either blow everything up or play along until the police arrived. I chose to play along. I'm just so happy for Jolie, I said, my voice carrying across the room. After everything she's been through, she deserves this miracle, and I'm grateful to be part of such a close family, one that really looks out for each other. Oh, Melina? Jolie dabbed at her eyes. You're the best sister-in-law ever. I hope someday you'll understand how much this means to me. Oh, I understand perfectly. My phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down casually. Sloane, we're all here. When you're ready. I looked around the room one more time, at Victor beaming with pride, at Jolie glowing with stolen joy, at Naomi orchestrating it all like the puppet master she was, at all the family and friends celebrating a lie. Actually, I said, setting down my glass, there is something I'd like to say. The room quieted again, everyone turning to look at me expectantly. I want to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate this very special occasion. It really means the world to see how much this family supports each other through thick and thin, no matter what. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. And Jolie, I continued, looking directly at her, I want you to know that I understand exactly what you've done here. The planning, the coordination, the attention to detail, it's really quite impressive. She smiled uncertainly. Thank you? No, thank you. All of you, for showing me exactly who you really are. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. Detective Fleming stepped through first, followed by 2 uniformed officers, and Sloane in her sharp black suit. Good afternoon, Detective Fleming announced to the suddenly silent room. I'm Detective Fleming with the Metro Police. We have warrants for the arrest of Victor Bryant, Jolie Bryant-Tucker, and Naomi Bryant on charges of fertility fraud, conspiracy, and theft. The room exploded into chaos. The champagne glass slipped from Jolie's hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, everything happened at once. What the hell is going on? Victor stepped forward, his face flushing red. Melina, what did you do? I did what you should have done months ago, I said, pulling the recording device from under my blouse. I told the truth. Naomi pushed through the crowd, her face twisted with rage. You little bitch! How dare you bring police into my home? Your home! I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. This party was paid for with my mortgage money, the money you stole to fund your little family project. Detective Fleming stepped forward, handcuffs ready. Victor Bryant, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fertility fraud, medical fraud, and theft. You have the right to remain silent. This is insane! Victor backed away, knocking into Uncle Robert. Melina, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them you're just upset about the IVF failing. The IVF didn't fail, Victor. You gave our embryo to your sister. Gasps rippled through the room. Aunt Patricia clutched her pearls. Cousin Mark's mouth fell open. That's not... We didn't... Victor looked around desperately. Mom, tell them! But Naomi was busy trying to shield Jolie, who had collapsed into a chair, hyperventilating. I can't breathe! Jolie gasped. I can't breathe. This is going to hurt the baby. The baby that isn't yours, I said coldly. Sloane stepped forward, legal documents in hand. Mrs. Bryant Tucker, we have medical records proving that the embryo currently developing in your uterus belongs to my client. The transfer was performed without her knowledge or consent. You're lying! Jolie screamed. This is my baby. I'm the one who's pregnant. I'm the one carrying it. With my genetic material. I shot back. My eggs, fertilized with my husband's sperm, created during my IVF cycle. Darryl, who had been standing frozen in the corner, finally spoke up. Jolie, what is she talking about? You said the embryo came from an anonymous donor. The room went dead silent. Jolie looked at her husband, then at Naomi, then at Victor. Darryl, I can explain. You lied to me too? Darryl's voice cracked. You told me we were using a donor embryo from the clinic's program. We were. We are. It's the same thing. No, it's not. I stepped closer to her. A donor consents to give their embryo away. I never consented to anything. You stole from me. Detective Fleming moved toward Victor again. Sir, I need you to put your hands behind your back. Wait! Wait! Victor held up his hands. Can't we work this out? Family to family. Melina, honey, you're upset. I get it, but calling the police. Don't you dare honey me. The words came out like venom. You mortgaged our house. You lied to my face for months. You let me think I was broken while you were planning to give our baby to someone else. It wasn't like that. Then, what was it like, Victor? Explain it to me. Explain how you convinced Dr. Martinez to falsify my medical records. Explain how you used our mortgage money to buy Jolie a whole new wardrobe. Explain how you planned this party to celebrate stealing my child. The crowd was backing away now, sensing the danger in my voice. Some people were quietly slipping out the front door. Naomi stepped between us. You selfish little girl! Jolie can't have children of her own. We were helping her by destroying me. You've had 3 years of chances, 3 years of failures. At least this way the baby stays in the family. My family, not yours. You married into this family. That makes it ours too. I turned to address the remaining guests, my voice carrying across the room. Did you all know? When you came here today to celebrate Jolie's miracle pregnancy, did you know they stole the embryo from me? Silence. Guilty faces. Aunt Patricia was crying now. Some miracle, I continued. Some family. Detective Fleming had finally gotten close enough to Victor to grab his arm. Sir, you need to comply, or we'll add resisting arrest to the charges. This is kidnapping, Naomi shrieked. You can't take my son. Actually, we can. Detective Fleming snapped the handcuffs on Victor's wrists. We have warrants. Victor looked at me over his shoulder as they led him toward the door. Mel, please, don't do this. We can fix this. We can try again. With what money, Victor? You mortgaged our house, remember? For family first. His face crumpled. I thought you'd understand eventually. I thought you'd be happy for Jolie. Happy? I laughed, the sound echoing off the walls. You thought I'd be happy to watch your sister raise my baby? You thought I'd be grateful for the privilege of funding my own betrayal? The second officer was approaching Jolie now. She clung to Daryl's arm. Please, she begged. I'm pregnant. You can't arrest a pregnant woman. We can, and we are, the officer replied. Jolie Bryant Tucker, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fertility fraud and theft. The baby! She wailed as they cuffed her. What about the baby? That's for the courts to decide, Sloane said crisply. But I can tell you that my client will be seeking full custody of her biological child. Daryl stepped forward, his face pale. Wait, if the baby is biologically theirs, then what happens to me? I thought I was going to be a father. You were never going to be a father, I said, not without sympathy. You were going to be an accessory to theft. The third officer reached for Naomi, who was still screaming about family loyalty and ungrateful daughters-in-law. This isn't over, she shouted as they led her away. You'll regret this. Family is everything, and you just destroyed yours. No, I called after her. You destroyed it the moment you decided I didn't matter. Caden appeared at my elbow. He'd been so quiet I'd forgotten he was there. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I should have stopped this months ago. Yes, you should have. Are you going to be okay? I looked around the destroyed party. Overturned chairs, abandoned champagne glasses, pink and gold decorations that now seemed obscene. I'm going to be better than okay, I said. I'm going to be free. The story broke on social media before the evening news even aired. Someone at the baby shower had live-streamed the arrests, and by Sunday morning, baby shower arrest was trending on Twitter. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Reporters, distant relatives, old college friends who suddenly wanted to check in. I'd turned it off after the 15th call from a producer wanting me on their morning show. Jayla brought coffee and bagels to my house around 10, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. You look like hell, she said, setting the food on my kitchen counter. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Have you seen the news? I shook my head. I can't. Not yet. Channel 7 called Victor's family fertility fraudsters. The story's everywhere, Mel. People are calling you a hero. I don't feel like a hero. Jayla pulled up a chair next to me. What do you feel like? Empty, angry, relieved, terrified. I rubbed my face with both hands. All at the same time. That's normal. You just blew up your entire life. They blew up my life. I just lit the fuse. My phone buzzed with a text from Sloane. Need to meet today. New developments. Sloane wants to see me, I told Jayla. Good or bad? With her, it's hard to tell. An hour later, I sat across from Sloane in her office, trying to read her expression. The district attorney is moving forward with all charges, she began. Victor, Jolie, and Naomi are looking at serious prison time if convicted. Good. There's more. Dr. Martinez has been arrested too. Turns out your case wasn't his first. The medical board is investigating at least 6 other instances of fertility fraud at his clinic. I felt sick. 6 other women? Maybe more. Your case broke it wide open. What about Jolie's pregnancy? Sloane's expression grew complicated. That's where it gets tricky. She's claiming emotional distress, saying the arrest caused her to have complications. Her lawyer is pushing for house arrest instead of jail time. Complications? Spotting, elevated blood pressure, Could be real, could be manufactured. Either way, it complicates things. I stared out the window at the city below. What does that mean for the baby? If she carries to term, we'll seek custody immediately after birth. DNA tests will prove it's biologically yours and Victor's. But, Melina... Sloane leaned forward. You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that she might miscarry. The stress, the legal proceedings. Pregnancy is fragile under the best circumstances. The thought hit me like a physical blow. After everything, I might still lose the baby. There's something else, Sloane continued. Victor's lawyer reached out. He wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? Full confession in exchange for reduced charges. He's claiming he was manipulated by his mother and sister, that he didn't understand the legal implications. Bullshit. I agree, but it might help our case if he testifies against them. I don't want his help. I want him to face the consequences. Understood, but think about it. His testimony could ensure Jolie and Naomi get the maximum sentences. My phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Sloane advised. Probably another reporter. But I was already looking at the voicemail notification. Then another. Then another. Mel, it's Aunt Patricia. I had no idea what they were doing. I'm so sorry. Melina, this is Cousin Sarah. I can't believe Victor would do this to you. If you need anything... Hey, it's Mike from college. Saw the news. You're a badass. Call me if you want to talk. Jayla scrolled through my social media mentions while I listened to voicemails. Holy shit, Mel. Look at this. She showed me her phone. There's a GoFundMe for you. Help Melina fight fertility fraud. It's already raised $12,000. People are donating money to me. People are pissed. Look at these comments. She read from the screen. This woman is a warrior. Sue them for everything they're worth. I hope she gets her baby back. And the negative ones. Jayla's face darkened. There are some. People saying you should have handled it privately, that you destroyed a family over jealousy. Let me see. Mel, don't... I grabbed the phone. The comments were brutal. She's just bitter because she can't have kids naturally. Calling the police on your own family. Psycho behavior. That poor pregnant woman. The stress could kill the baby. I handed the phone back. At least now I know who my real friends are. The people who matter know the truth, Jayla said firmly. That evening, Caden showed up at my door with a bottle of wine and a guilty expression. I brought reinforcements, he said, holding up the bottle. Figured you might need them. Are you supposed to be talking to me? Won't that hurt your family's case? Probably, but I don't care anymore. He followed me into the living room. I testified to the grand jury today. You did. Told them everything. The planning, the lies, the way they celebrated while you were grieving. He sat down heavily on my couch. My own mother, Mel. I can't believe my own mother did this. How are you holding up? Terrible. Victor won't speak to me. Mom's lawyer says I'm a traitor. Jolie's husband filed for divorce. Darryl left her. This morning, took his stuff and moved back in with his parents. Can't say I blame him. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you regret it? I asked. Testifying? Caden looked at me with tired eyes. The only thing I regret is not stopping it sooner. You didn't deserve any of this. Your family hates me now. My family hates themselves. They just don't want to admit it yet. What happens now? Now we wait, For the trial, for the baby, for whatever comes next. He opened the wine and poured 2 glasses. But Mel, whatever happens, you did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you different. I raised my glass. To doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. To doing the right thing, he echoed. We drank in silence, 2 survivors of a family that had imploded under the weight of its own lies. Outside, reporters were still camped on my lawn, waiting for a statement I wasn't ready to give. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The courtroom was packed when the verdicts came down. I sat in the front row with Sloane, watching as the judge read each charge. Victor Bryant, on the count of conspiracy to commit fertility fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Victor's shoulders sagged. He didn't look back at me. Jolie Bryant Tucker, on the count of fertility fraud in the 1st degree, we find the defendant guilty. Jolie was 8 months pregnant now, her belly straining against the defendant's table. She'd been on house arrest since the complications started, but the baby had held on. My baby. Naomi Bryant, on the count of conspiracy and theft, we find the defendant guilty. Naomi finally looked at me then, her eyes full of pure hatred. I stared back without flinching. The judge continued with sentencing. Victor got 3 years. Jolie got 2 years, suspended until after the birth. Naomi got 5. Your Honor? Sloane stood up. We'd like to address the matter of custody. The court has reviewed the DNA evidence and the circumstances of conception. Custody of the minor child will be awarded to the biological parents, Melina and Victor Bryant, with Melina Bryant having primary custody given the defendant's incarceration. Jolie let out a wail that echoed through the courtroom. That's my baby. I carried it. I'm the mother. You're the surrogate, the judge said firmly. An unwilling surrogate, but a surrogate nonetheless. The child will be placed with its biological mother immediately upon birth. Darrell, sitting in the gallery, was crying quietly. I almost felt sorry for him. After court, Sloane and I walked to her car through a crowd of reporters. How does it feel to get justice? One shouted. Are you prepared to raise the child alone? Called another. I stopped walking and turned to face them. I want to say something. Sloane grabbed my arm. Mel, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I stepped up to the microphones. 3 years ago, I started IVF because I wanted to be a mother. I went through hell, physically, emotionally, financially, because I believed family was worth any sacrifice. I was right about that. Family is worth any sacrifice. But the people who stole from me, they were never my family. What do you want other women to know? A reporter asked. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let anyone convince you that you're being paranoid or ungrateful. And if someone betrays you this deeply, don't protect them just because you share DNA or a last name. Do you forgive your husband? I looked directly into the camera. Forgiveness is earned. Victor chose his mother and sister over his wife. He chose their wants over my rights. He chose to lie to me every single day for months while I grieved what I thought was our lost child. So, no, I don't forgive him. And I never will. What's next for you? I'm going to be a mother. Finally. 2 weeks later, Jayla drove me to the hospital at 3 a.m. Jolie had gone into labor. You sure you want to be there? Jayla asked as we parked. I've been waiting for this moment for 4 years. I'm not missing it. The delivery room was tense. Jolie's lawyer, my lawyer, a social worker, 2 nurses, and Dr. Peterson, the new obstetrician who'd taken over the case. Jolie was in active labour, sweating and screaming. "I can't do this," she gasped between contractions. "I can't give up my baby." "It's not your baby," I said quietly from my chair in the corner. She looked at me with wild eyes. "I carried it. I felt it kick. I sang to it every night." "You stole it." "Mrs. Bryant Tucker," Dr. Peterson said gently, "you need to focus on the delivery now. We can discuss everything else afterward." But there wouldn't be anything to discuss. The court order was clear. At 6:47 a.m., my daughter was born. She was perfect. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and Victor's nose. When Dr. Peterson placed her in my arms, she opened her eyes and looked right at me. "Hello, baby girl," I whispered. "I'm your mama. I've been waiting so long to meet you." Jolie was sobbing on the delivery table. "Please, please let me hold her. Just once." I looked at my daughter, and felt something I'd never experienced before. Pure, fierce, protective love. "No. Melina, please. You had 9 months to hold her. 9 months, that should have been mine. You don't get anything else." The social worker stepped forward with paperwork. "Mrs. Bryant, we need to complete the custody transfer." I signed my name with my daughter still in my arms. She was mine now. Legally, officially, completely mine. Jailer appeared in the doorway with a car seat and a diaper bag. "Ready to go home?" More than ready. As we walked past Jolie's room, I heard her crying. Part of me, a very small part, felt sorry for her, but mostly I felt nothing. In the hospital parking lot, I strapped my daughter into her car seat for the first time. "What are you going to name her?" Jailer asked. "I'd been thinking about this for weeks." "Hope. Her name is Hope." "That's perfect." I looked back at the hospital one last time. Victor was in prison. Jolie was facing 2 years when Hope turned 18 months old. Naomi was already behind bars. Dr. Martinez had lost his license and was facing federal charges. The Bryant family legacy they'd been so desperate to preserve. Destroyed. But my legacy, my daughter, my future, my new life built on truth instead of lies, was just beginning. "Let's go home, Hope," I said, getting into the passenger seat. As Jailer drove us away from the hospital, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The war was over. I had won. And more importantly, I had my daughter. Everything else was just noise.
I bled out on an operating table while my family posed for photos at a charity gala. That's not even the worst part. I died for 78 seconds while my sister accepted a humanitarian award. My name is Peyton, and until that night, I was the backbone of the Lowe family. The fixer. The responsible one. The daughter who'd drop everything at 3 a.m. because Mum was having another meltdown about Dad's latest business failure, or because Jade needed someone to bail her out of whatever mess she'd created. "Miss, you really need to go to urgent care," my assistant had said earlier that day, watching me double over at my desk. "That's not food poisoning." I waved her off, focused on finishing the presentation that would save Dad's company from another financial disaster. Just give me 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes nearly cost me my life. By the time I made it to urgent care, my vision was blurring. The doctor took one look at me and called for an ambulance. "Internal bleeding," I heard him say. "Possible ruptured cyst." I fumbled with my phone, trying to call Mom. Straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's me. They're taking me to Memorial. Something's wrong. Another wave of pain cut me off. Called Dad. Nothing. Jade's number was my last try. She picked up on the fourth ring. Peyton, I can't talk right now. The gala starts in 2 hours and the caterer messed up the... Jade, I'm in an ambulance. They think something's ruptured. Oh my God, seriously, tonight of all nights. You know this is my moment. I'm getting the Young Humanitarian Award. The paramedic grabbed my phone as my eyes rolled back. The last thing I heard was Jade's voice. Just handle it yourself for once, okay? I've got to go. I woke up to beeping monitors and fluorescent lights. A nurse, Rowan, according to her badge, was adjusting my IV. Welcome back, she said softly. You gave us quite a scare. My throat felt like sandpaper. My family? Rowan's smile faltered. We called all your emergency contacts when you went into surgery, left messages. How long was I? The surgery took 4 hours. You've been out for about 6. My phone sat on the bedside table. No missed calls, no texts, just an Instagram notification. Jade Lowe tagged you in a photo. With trembling fingers, I opened it. There they were. Mom in her designer gown, Dad in his tuxedo, and Jade in the centre, golden dress sparkling as she held up her award. The caption read, "Family is everything. Couldn't have done this without their endless support." So blessed. The timestamp showed it was posted while I was in surgery. Your doctor will be in shortly, Rowan said, touching my arm gently. You should rest. I nodded, unable to speak. My body felt hollow, and not just from the surgery. Dr. Warner arrived minutes later, clipboard in hand. How are you feeling, Peyton? Like I was gutted. My attempt at humour fell flat. That's not far from the truth. The ruptured cyst caused severe internal bleeding. We almost... He paused, consulting his notes. There's something you should know. During the surgery, there were complications. I stared at the ceiling, already knowing what he'd say. Your heart stopped. For 78 seconds, you were clinically dead. A laugh bubbled up in my throat. Harsh, foreign. 78 seconds. That's specific. We document everything precisely. He studied my face. Is there someone we can call for you? I looked at my phone again. Still nothing. 10 hours had passed since my first call for help. No, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. There's no one to call. After Dr. Warner left, I opened my photos, scrolled back through years of family moments I'd captured. Birthdays, holidays, celebrations. Always behind the camera, never in front. Always the one making sure everyone else was taken care of. Positioned perfectly, smiling just right. My finger hovered over the delete button. Rowan returned with pain medication. Your sister called while you were talking to the doctor, said she hopes you're feeling better and asked if you could transfer some money for the gala's after-party expenses. I closed my eyes, feeling the morphine spread through my system. Did she ask if I was alive? No, Rowan said quietly. She didn't. For 78 seconds, I had been dead. Now, lying in that hospital bed, I made a decision. Those 78 seconds would be the last thing I'd ever give my family. I didn't know it then, but that night, while my heart stopped on an operating table, was when I finally started living. The morning after surgery, I scrolled through social media from my hospital bed, watching my family's perfect life play out in filtered squares. There were dozens of photos from the gala, each one a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Mum's caption under a group shot. So proud of my baby girl. A mother couldn't ask for a more perfect evening. I zoomed in on their faces, searching for any hint of concern, any shadow of worry about their other daughter bleeding out across town. Their smiles were radiant. My phone buzzed. Jade. Oh my God, you will not believe what happened after you went to the hospital. She didn't wait for my response. Jordan proposed right there at the gala. It was like a fairy tale. I stared at the ceiling, counting the tiles. 1, 2, 3. Peyton, are you even listening? I died last night, I said flatly. Don't be so dramatic. The doctor said you're fine now, right? Anyway, about the wedding. My heart stopped for 78 seconds. A pause. Then, well, you always did have terrible timing. You know how important last night was for me. I hung up. Rowan came in to check my vitals, frowning at my elevated heart rate. Everything okay? Just family stuff? I tried to sit up, wincing. When can I leave? Doctor wants to keep you another day for observation. She adjusted my pillows. Your mother called the desk, asked if you could email over some work documents for your father. Of course she did. My phone lit up with texts. Mum, need you to look over Dad's quarterly reports. Urgent, Dad. Call me ASAP. Bank meeting tomorrow. Jade, don't tell Mom, but I maxed the family card on the after party. Can you transfer 5K? Rowan watched me delete each message. Want me to tell them you're resting? Tell them whatever you want. I pulled up my email instead, typing quickly, to HR department. Subject, emergency contact update. Please remove the following names. A knock at the door interrupted me. Emery from work stood there, holding a travel mug and a laptop bag. Thought you might need these. She set them down and pulled up a chair. Real coffee, because hospital coffee is criminal, and your laptop, because I know you. For the first time since waking up in this sterile room, I felt tears prick my eyes. The office is fine, Emery continued. I handled the presentation. Your dad's company will survive without you for a few days. Thank you. My voice cracked. Also, I brought this. She pulled out a folder. Medical proxy paperwork. Thought you might want to make some changes. I stared at her. How did you... Because I've met your family, Peyton, and I was here last night when they weren't. My phone buzzed again, a text from Jordan. Your sister told everyone you had food poisoning. Thought you should know. Emery took my phone gently. Want me to turn this off? Before I could answer, Mum burst into the room in full society wife regalia, trailing Chanel No. 5 and disapproval. Peyton, darling, you look awful. Why didn't you tell us it was this serious? She air-kissed near my cheek. We were so worried when we got the messages this morning. This morning, I repeated. Not last night during the 4 hours I was in surgery. Oh, honey, you know how these events are. We couldn't just leave. Jade was receiving an award. I died, Mum. She waved her hand dismissively. Don't be melodramatic. You're fine now. And speaking of fine, wait until you see Jade's engagement ring. Jordan did wonderfully, though of course they'll need help with the down payment on their house. I told them you'd... I think Peyton needs rest, Emery cut in, standing. Doctor's orders. Mum blinked as if noticing her for the first time. And you are? Someone who was here last night? I said quietly. The room went still. Mum's perfect mask cracked just for a second. Well, she huffed, gathering her purse, I can see you're not in a reasonable mood. Call when you're feeling more yourself, darling. Oh, and don't forget those documents for your father. After she left, Emery handed me back my phone and the folder. Ready to make those changes? I opened the medical proxy form and started writing. With each line, each emergency contact removed and replaced, I felt lighter, like I was finally cutting away dead weight I'd carried my whole life. They're going to be furious, I said, signing the last page. Emery took the forms, her expression serious. Let them be. You almost died, Peyton. Maybe it's time to start living. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. The family group chat was blowing up with wedding planning messages. Not one person had asked how I was doing. Yeah, I said, feeling something shift inside me. Maybe it is. 3 days after surgery, Emery helped me settle into my apartment. Every movement felt like my insides were being rearranged, but it was better than another minute in that hospital room fielding my family's demands. "Your fridge is empty," Emery called from the kitchen. "I'm ordering groceries." "You don't have to." "Already done." She appeared in the doorway. "And I'm staying in your guest room tonight. No arguments." My phone pinged. Another email from Dad's accountant about urgent transfers needed for the business. Delete. A text from Jade. "Mom says you're being difficult? Whatever. I need you to help with wedding venue deposits." Delete. Here. Emery handed me a stack of papers. "Your lawyer dropped these off at the office." I flipped through them. Bank account separation forms, power of attorney revocation, trust fund documentation. Each page represented another cord to cut. "There's something else," Emery said, pulling out her laptop. "Remember how I handle IT for the hospital board? I found something weird in your admission records." She turned the screen toward me. There, time-stamped during my surgery, was a document authorizing my sister as my medical proxy, with my electronic signature. "That's impossible," I whispered. "I never signed anything." "Exactly." Emery's voice was hard. "Someone submitted this while you were unconscious. The timestamp matches when Jade was at the gala." My hand started shaking. "She forged my signature while I was dying?" "There's more." Emery clicked through several emails. "She used it to authorize them to continue the gala proceedings without liability. Basically, covered herself legally in case you didn't make it." The room spun. I grabbed the trash can just in time. After I finished being sick, Emery handed me water. "We need to report this." "No." I wiped my mouth. "I have a better idea." I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. "Margaret, I need everything locked down, every account, every document, every legal tie, and I want a full audit of my trust fund activity for the past 10 years. "Already on it," Margaret replied. "And Peyton, you should see this." She emailed over bank statements showing systematic withdrawals from my trust fund during college. Withdrawals I never made. "Your parents had access," Margaret explained. "They've been dipping in for years. Want me to pursue it?" "Not yet." I looked at the amounts. Thousands siphoned away while I worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. "Just document everything." My doorbell rang. Emery checked the camera. "It's your mother. Don't answer." "Peyton," Mum's voice carried through the door. "I know you're in there. Your father needs those signatures today." We waited in silence until her heels clicked away. "You okay?" Emery asked. "Better than okay." I pulled up my contact list and started deleting numbers. "I'm free." That night, after Emery went to sleep, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, watching the city lights. My phone lit up with a text from Jordan. "Just saw what Jade did with the hospital forms. I'm so sorry. For what it's worth, I'm calling off the engagement." I wrote back, "Thank you for telling me." Then I opened my laptop and began writing. To all hospital administrative staff subject, fraudulent documentation. Notice I'm writing to report unauthorized access to my medical records. 2. Family. Financial advisor. Subject, account separation notice. Effective immediately. Please remove my name from all shared accounts. 2. HR department. Subject, emergency contact final update. Please remove all previously listed family members. Each email felt like setting down a weight I'd carried for years. My phone buzzed again, Jade calling. For the first time in my life, I hit block. The next morning, Emery made coffee while I checked my emails. Confirmations rolled in, accounts separated, medical records secured, legal barriers erected. "Your sister's been calling the office," Emery mentioned. "Says it's an emergency." It always is. I sipped my coffee. Did she say what kind? Something about wedding vendors threatening to sue over bounce checks. I smiled. Sounds like her problem. You know they're going to escalate, right? Let them. I showed her my phone. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of texts. I'm done bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice if I bled out. Emery squeezed my shoulder. Want to get breakfast? There's a new place downtown. Actually, I said, I think I'm ready to go back to work. You sure? It's only been... I'm sure, but first... I pulled up my email one last time. To Jade. Subject, hospital records. I know what you did. Don't ever contact me again. Peace. There, I said, hitting send. Now we can get breakfast. For the first time since the surgery, my scars didn't hurt. Maybe because I'd finally stopped letting them cut deeper. Your mother's in the lobby again, my assistant Sarah announced through the intercom. 3rd time this week. I didn't look up from my computer. Standard response. I'm sorry, Mrs. Lowe, but Peyton's in meetings all day. Through my office window, I watched Mum's perfectly coiffed head bob angrily as she argued with security. Same script, different day. It had been 3 weeks since I'd blocked their numbers, and they still hadn't gotten the message. My office phone rang. The front desk. Miss, your sister's here too now. Of course she was. I grabbed my coat and laptop. Sarah, I'm working from home. If anyone asks... Meetings all day, got it. I was halfway to the emergency stairs when Jade's voice rang out. Peyton, stop right there. Instead, I walked faster. You can't ignore us forever. She clicked after me in her heels. Mum's crying every day. Dad's business is falling apart. My wedding vendors are threatening legal action. I spun around. Sounds rough. Maybe forge some more documents to fix it. She paled. That's not... I didn't... Save it. I saw the timestamps, Jade. You committed fraud while I was dying. I had to. The gala was too important. More important than my life? Yeah, you made that clear. I turned away. Goodbye, Jade. Wait! She grabbed my arm. Please, I need your help. The wedding venue's suing for $60,000, and Jordan's not returning my calls, and... I yanked free. Not my problem. But you're my sister. Funny, I wasn't your sister when I was bleeding out. The emergency door clicked shut behind me, cutting off her protests. At home, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. Another email from Margaret, my lawyer. Trust fund audit complete. Your parents withdrew $157,000 during your college years. Want to pursue legal action? I sipped my wine, remembering those years. Working multiple jobs, eating ramen, while Mum posted photos of their European vacations. Now I knew how they paid for them. My doorbell rang. Through the camera, I saw Mom, mascara streaking her face. Peyton, please, just talk to us. We're family. I turned up my music to drown out her voice. My phone lit up, a text from Emery. Therapy at 7? I'll drive. Yes, please, I replied. Dr. Lisa's office felt safer than my apartment lately. She looked up from her notes as I settled into the familiar chair. Rough day. Family ambush at work. I stared at my hands. They're getting desperate. How does that make you feel? Nothing. I met her eyes. That's the weird part. I feel nothing. She nodded. Tell me about when you started feeling nothing? A memory surfaced. Me, at 10 years old, folding laundry while Mom sobbed about Jade's latest crisis. You're such a good girl, Peyton, Mum had said, mascara staining my freshly folded shirts. So practical. At least I have one daughter I can rely on. I told Dr. Lisa about that day, about all the days that followed, about being the family ATM, therapist, and fixer, while Jade got all the attention. You were parentified, Dr. Lisa said, made responsible for your parents' emotional and financial well-being from a young age. And now I'm abandoning them. Are you? Or are you finally allowing them to face consequences? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Peyton? It was Jordan. We need to talk. In person. It's important. I hesitated. It's about something I found on your mum's phone. Something you need to hear. Dr. Lisa watched me carefully. Everything okay? I don't know, I stood up, but I'm about to find out. Jordan was waiting at a coffee shop downtown, looking nervous. He slid his phone across the table. I found this while helping your mum with her phone settings. It's from 15 years ago. She never deleted it. I pressed play. Mum's voice filled my ears, younger but unmistakable. I can't do this anymore, Sarah. You don't understand. Peyton wasn't supposed to happen. We kept her because your father was afraid of how it would look. But I never wanted... God, I sound horrible. Delete this message. The recording ended. My hands didn't shake. My eyes stayed dry. I'm sorry, Jordan said quietly. I thought you should know. I handed back his phone. Thank you. What are you going to do? I gathered my things, feeling strangely light. Nothing. They're going to do it all to themselves. Outside, the sun was setting. I texted Emery. Want to help me look for a new apartment? Thinking it's time for a change? Her reply was instant. Already looking? Wine and real estate websites tonight? I smiled, walking away from the coffee shop, from Jordan, from the last threads of my old life. Perfect, I wrote back. I'm ready for something new. 6 months passed like a deep breath finally released. My new apartment overlooked the river, far from my old neighbourhood. No more surprise visits, no more family ambushes. Just peace. Happy birthday! Emery burst through my door with a cake and a bottle of champagne. Behind her, a small group of friends filtered in. Actual friends, not the society connections Mum had forced on me. You didn't have to... Shut up and blow out your candles, Emery laughed. For the first time in my life, I celebrated my birthday without a single family obligation. No last-minute crisis to solve, no checks to write, no emotional fires to extinguish. My phone buzzed. Email from Dad. The bank is foreclosing. Your mother's hysterical. We need $200,000 by Friday or we lose everything. I know you're going through a phase, but family helps family. Call me. Delete. Earth to Peyton. Emery waved her hand in front of my face. Present time. They'd gotten me thoughtful gifts. A camera for my new photography hobby. Books I'd mentioned wanting to read. A spa day package. No strings attached, no hidden obligations. Speech! Someone called out. I raised my champagne glass. Thank you all for... My doorbell rang. Through the camera feed, I saw Jade, mascara streaked down her face. Don't answer it, Emery said quietly. Peyton, please! Jade's voice carried through the door. Everything's falling apart. Jordan left me, the wedding's cancelled, Dad's losing the house. I need my sister. My friends looked uncomfortable. I took another sip of champagne. Should we turn up the music? Someone suggested. Jade's voice grew louder. I know you're in there. I can hear people. Mum's having panic attacks every day. Dad's talking about bankruptcy. You're killing them. No, I said calmly. They did that themselves. After 15 minutes of unanswered pleas, Jade finally left. The party resumed, but something had shifted. You okay? Emery asked later, helping me clean up. Better than okay. I showed her my phone. Dozens of missed calls, countless texts, all from unknown numbers they kept creating. Look at these messages. Mum, how could you abandon us like this? Dad, Your mother's health is declining from stress. This will be on your conscience. Jade, if Dad has another heart attack, it's your fault. They're getting desperate, Emery observed. They're getting consequences. I blocked another new number, probably for the first time ever. My laptop pinged. An email from Margaret. Your parents are attempting to access old accounts, all blocked. Also, found something interesting. They've been lying about the business's finances for years. The empire was smoke and mirrors, propped up by your money. Want details? Not anymore, I replied. That night, after everyone left, I sat on my balcony watching the river. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo of my childhood home with a foreclosure notice. Mum, is this what you wanted? To destroy your family? I thought about that recording Jordan had found, about being the unwanted child they kept for appearances, about bleeding out alone while they posed for photos. No, I typed back. This is what you created. Then I blocked that number too. The next morning, Sarah buzzed my office. Your father's here. He looks unwell. Call security. Peyton, please. Dad's voice broke through. Just 5 minutes. Security's on their way, sir, Sarah said firmly. Through my office window, I watched 2 guards escort him out. He looked older, defeated. The expensive suit was wrinkled, his shoulders slumped. My phone buzzed. Jade again, somehow texting from another new number. They're serving eviction papers tomorrow. Mum's talking about suicide. How can you be so cold? What happened to you? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. I died for 78 seconds. Remember? Then I turned off my phone and opened my laptop to book a vacation. Somewhere far away. Somewhere new. Emery popped her head in. Lunch? Actually, I said, how do you feel about Thailand? She grinned. For lunch? Ambitious. For 2 weeks, next month, I need a change of scenery. Running away? No. I showed her the flight options. For the first time in my life, I'm running towards something. Count me in. She sat down to help plan. Your family's going to implode while you're gone. They've been imploding my whole life. I clicked book now on 2 tickets. I just won't be there to catch the pieces anymore. As if on cue, my office phone rang. Mum's newest number. I unplugged it without breaking stride. So, I said to Emery, beach resort or city hotel? The silence in my office felt like freedom. We need to talk. Jordan stood outside my office looking grim. It's worse than you know. I checked my watch. 2 days before my Thailand trip, and family drama was still finding ways to seep in. I have nothing to discuss about Jade, or... This isn't about Jade. He glanced around. Can we go somewhere private? At a nearby coffee shop, Jordan pulled out his phone. Remember that voicemail I showed you? About you being unwanted? There's more. My stomach clenched. I don't need... Trust me, you do. He pressed play. Mum's voice filled the space between us. Sarah, I did something terrible. The trust fund. Theodore and I, we've been taking more than just college money. Peyton's inheritance from her grandmother. We spent it all. Years ago. The documents we showed her were fake. If she ever finds out... The recording cut off. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. There's one more, Jordan said quietly. From last week. Another recording. The bankruptcy papers are ready. Once we file, Peyton will have to help. She's always been our safety net. She'll cave when she sees how bad it is. She has to. We've got nothing left to sell except... Except what? I asked, though I already knew. Your grandmother's house. The one you think you inherited. They sold it 3 years ago. The world tilted sideways. That house was my escape plan since childhood. The place I'd hide when Mum's screaming got too loud or Jade's drama too suffocating. Grandmother had left it to me specifically, knowing I'd need a sanctuary. "How did you get these?" "Jade's been recording your mum's breakdowns for years. Blackmail material, I think. I found them when I was moving my stuff out." My phone buzzed. Emery. "Emergency at work. Your dad showed up drunk. I have to go." I stood up. "Thank you, Jordan, for everything." "There's one more thing." He hesitated. "They're planning something big. Your mum mentioned medical power of attorney papers they kept from the hospital night. Said it was their insurance policy." Ice ran through my veins. "What kind of insurance?" "The kind that could force you to take responsibility for their debts. They're desperate, Peyton. Be careful." Back at the office, security had already removed Dad, but the damage was done. He'd caused a scene in the lobby, shouting about ungrateful daughters and family duty. "He left this." Emery handed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo, me at 8 years old, bandaging Jade's knee after a fall, while Mum took pictures of her tears. A post-it note read, "You were always the responsible one. Don't fail us now." "I'm calling Margaret," I said, reaching for my phone. My lawyer answered immediately. "I was just about to call you. Your parents filed something concerning with the hospital. They're trying to use those forged documents from your surgery night to claim ongoing medical power of attorney." "Can they?" "No, but they're desperate enough to try. Want me to handle it?" "Please." I sank into my chair. "And Margaret? Check if they sold my grandmother's house." Her silence was answer enough. "Already on it," she finally said. "I'll add it to the fraud investigation." After hanging up, I stared at the photo Dad had left. That little girl with the bandages, always ready to fix everyone else's wounds while hiding her own. My phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. A video. Against my better judgment, I played it. Mom appeared, mascara running. "Peyton, baby, please. We're about to lose everything. Your father, he's not well. The doctors say his heart. Please, call us. We need you. You're our daughter." I zoomed in on her face, searching for any genuine concern. All I saw was manipulation. Emery knocked softly. "Security footage shows your mum in the parking garage." "Of course she is." I grabbed my coat. "Back door." Already called a car. As we snuck out through the service entrance, my phone exploded with notifications. Flying monkeys, family friends, distant relatives, all suddenly concerned about my cruel behaviour. "Your mother's worried sick. How could you abandon your family? Your father might not survive this stress." Each message made me more certain of my decision to leave. "Still want to move up that Thailand trip?" Emery asked as we drove away. I looked back at my office building, where Mum was undoubtedly still waiting to ambush me. At the life I'd spent decades propping up for people who'd sell my inheritance behind my back. "Actually," I said, "why wait? Let's go home and pack." "Now? But the tickets are changeable." I pulled out my phone. "I'm done waiting for their next move. It's time to make mine." As we drove away, I deleted every unread message without opening them. Let them scheme and manipulate. I'd be on a beach halfway around the world, finally living my own life. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd sold my sanctuary, not knowing I'd build my own, far beyond their reach. The call came while I was watching sunset from a Thai beach, toes in the sand, not a family crisis in sight. Unknown number, but something made me answer. "Is this Peyton?" A tired voice I didn't recognise. "This is Memorial Hospital. Your father had a stroke. He's in critical condition." The waves kept rolling in. My heart kept beating. The world didn't stop. "I'm not listed as his contact anymore," I said calmly. You're still on one form as medical proxy. We need authorization for... Check again. All those documents were forged. Silence. Papers shuffling. I see the fraud report now. I'm sorry to have bothered you. I hung up and turned back to the sunset. My phone immediately lit up with messages. Jade. Dad's dying and you're on vacation? You heartless bitch. Mum. How dare you? Get back here immediately. Unknown numbers. Your father needs you. Emery looked up from her beach chair. Everything okay? Dad had a stroke. I took a sip of my coconut water. They're trying to guilt me into coming back. Are you? No. More messages flooded in, each one more desperate than the last. Mum. The doctors need approval for surgery. Your father could die. Jade. His blood will be on your hands. Family friend. How can you be so cruel? They're your parents. I forwarded everything to Margaret. Already on it, she texted back. Hospital's been notified about the fraud. Your mother has full legal authority as his wife. They don't need you. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange. My phone kept buzzing. Want me to turn it off? Emery offered. No. I scrolled through the messages with detached curiosity. I want to remember this moment. A video came through. Mom at Dad's bedside, crying for the camera. Peyton, please. He's asking for you. How can you do this to us? I zoomed in on the background. Dad's expensive watch was still on his wrist. Mum's designer purse sat in the corner. They still had plenty to sell before truly hitting bottom. The next message was from Jordan. They're lying about the severity. Doctors said it was mild. They're trying to manipulate you. I know, I replied. A final text from Jade. Fine. You want to know the truth? We're broke. The house is gone. All Dad's businesses failed. We need your money. Happy now? I showed Emery the message. Took them long enough to admit it. What are you going to do? I opened my banking app and looked at my savings. The money they'd expected to bail them out with. Instead, I clicked transfer and moved it to a new account they'd never find. Nothing, I said. My phone rang again. The hospital. Miss, your mother is insisting we need your approval for... Let me be clear, I interrupted. I died on your operating table while they attended a party. They forged documents that night to cover their absence. I've sent proof to your legal department. Do not call me again. Silence. Then, I understand. I'm so sorry. After hanging up, I turned off my phone and laid back in my beach chair. The sky had turned purple, stars beginning to peek through. You really won't go back? Emery asked softly. They didn't come back for me, I said. Why should I go back for them? Later that night in our hotel room, I checked my email one last time. A message from Margaret contained hospital records. Dad's condition was stable, minor stroke, excellent prognosis. Another email from Jordan had photos of Mum and Jade shopping at Gucci that afternoon, apparently not so devastated by Dad's condition. I closed my laptop and walked onto the balcony. The ocean breeze carried away the last of my doubt. My phone lit up with a final voicemail from Mum. How dare you abandon us like this? After everything we've done for you, we gave you life. No, I whispered to the night air. You gave me obligations. I'm giving myself life now. Emery joined me on the balcony with 2 glasses of wine. Your mum called the hotel. I told them not to put any calls through. Thank you. I took a glass. Not just for that, for everything. That's what real family does, she said simply. I looked out at the ocean, thinking about the hospital night when my heart stopped, about waking up alone, about all the times I'd bled for people who saw me as nothing but a safety net. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Jade. Please, we need you. I deleted it without responding and turned off my phone. They needed me, but I didn't need them. Not anymore. The ocean waves kept rolling in, washing away everything but peace. The foreclosure sign stood stark against my childhood home as I parked across the street. Through my camera lens, I captured the empty windows, the overgrown lawn, the "no trespassing" notice. Perfect metaphors for a family that had finally run out of lies to tell. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Final, paperwork filed. All ties legally severed. You're officially free. I took one last photo and packed away my camera. This would be the final shot in my gallery exhibition. 78 seconds. A story of rebirth. Emery's car pulled up beside mine. You sure about this? I need to see it empty, I said. One last time. We walked up the cracked driveway. Through the windows, I could see vacant rooms where family portraits once hung. The grand staircase where Jade had posed for countless photos while I steadied Mum's camera. The kitchen where I'd bandaged wounds and absorbed tears. All empty now. Someone's coming, Emery warned. A familiar Mercedes pulled up. Mum stepped out, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes. She'd lost weight, but her clothes were still expensive, still keeping up appearances. Peyton? Her voice cracked. I knew you'd come back. We can fix this baby. I'm not back. I raised my camera, just documenting the end. The end? She laughed sharply. We're your family. There is no end. There was. I lowered the camera. 78 seconds of it while you posed for photos. That again? Why can't you let it go? We've lost everything because of your stubbornness. No, I said quietly. You lost everything because your lies finally caught up. How's Dad's critical condition? She flinched. He's recovering. In the vacation house you claimed you couldn't afford? The one you bought with my grandmother's money? We did what we had to for this family. For appearances, I corrected. Always for appearances. A second car pulled up. Jade stepped out, no longer looking like the golden child. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by department store basics. Of course you'd show up to gloat, she spat. Happy now? We're ruined. No, I said. You're just finally living in reality. Reality? She stormed forward. Reality is you abandoned us, left us with nothing. Nothing? I laughed. You have exactly what you earned, what you built. I just stopped building it for you. We're your family, Mom pleaded again. No. I raised my camera, capturing their desperate faces. You're my past. And this, I gestured to the empty house. This is your karma. Karma? Jade scoffed. For what? For leaving me to die, for forging documents, for stealing my inheritance, for making me believe I was worthless except as your safety net. I lowered the camera. But mostly for teaching me exactly what family isn't supposed to be. Mom stepped forward, reaching for me. Please, baby, we can start over. No, I said firmly. We can't, because I died that night. The daughter you could manipulate, the sister you could exploit. She bled out on that operating table. The woman who came back, she doesn't need your approval anymore. I turned to leave, but Jade grabbed my arm. You can't just walk away. Watch me. I pulled free. My exhibition opens tonight. It's called 78 Seconds. You should come see what death taught me about living. Back in my car, I watched them through my rearview mirror. 2 broken women standing in front of an empty house, all their manipulation tactics finally useless. You okay? Emery asked softly. Better than okay. I started the engine. I'm free. At the gallery that evening, my photos told the story. The hospital room where I died. The empty chairs where family should have sat. The foreclosure sign. The final shot. Mom and Jade, desperate and small, in front of their lost kingdom. The plaque beside it read, Sometimes karma isn't revenge. Sometimes it's just stepping away and letting people face the consequences of their own actions. Jordan found me by the champagne. "They're here," he whispered. "Your family." "No," I corrected, watching Mom and Jade slink through the crowd, seeing themselves exposed on every wall. "They're just people I used to know." I raised my glass to them as they stared at the hospital photos, at the documented evidence of their absence. They left quickly, finally understanding. Their power was gone. Emery clinked her glass against mine. "To 78 seconds. "No," I smiled, watching them retreat. "To everything that came after. Through the gallery windows, I watched them drive away for the last time." My heart beat steadily, strongly, marking the rhythm of my new life, one where family was chosen, love was earned, and silence spoke louder than manipulation ever could. I was finally, truly alive.